Hello guys, American Amy here. Last night I was supposed to help restream the event they held for Megan. It's a fundraising event and it's an educational event to try to wake people up to know what's going on with CPS. First I had problems with the way they chose to stream it. And I didn't get to talk to them kind of until the last minute. But they're great people, and you know they really wanted to accommodate me, and I told them no, go ahead, do your show. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to restream it live on my channel today. Hey Joey, hey Gypsy, Indiana. So what we're going to do now, if you don't have time to watch this whole thing, especially not at once, that's fine. I'm not going to be attending the stream. I'm just going to run it. I'm going to check in here and there. So if you if you're watching or if you just come by to say hi, make sure you hit like and put it in the comments so I know you've seen it. But I'm going to go ahead and play this. It's about 3.5 hours. So like I said, if you can't watch it all, that's okay. Watch it in steps. But there's important information. This isn't just a Megan story. It happened. Hey, Rob. It happens to everybody. I tried a couple times to stream last night, and then my whole internet went out. So we're going to try it now. So let me play that for you guys. These people that are on here, you guys can't hear me all right. I got a new mic on. I don't know if it sounds better or worse. But anyway, so these people, they're all good people, and they're all really trying to help to get our children. There's better ways to do this stuff. We've all discussed it. Hey, Lori. So I'm going to show this video. Like I said, if you can't watch the whole thing right now, don't worry. I'm going to leave it up as long as the YouTube guides let me. So it is kind of long, but it's interesting. And like I said, I'm not going to be manning this the whole time. I have things to do too. And I've already watched it. Thank you for dropping those links, Indiana. And y'all can hear okay? Oh, the mic sounds good. Okay. Alright, so we're going to go over here. We're going to hit play, full screen, hopefully.
Holy cow, that's cool.
We get a commercial with a naked guy in full.
Hey, it's survival expert Adam with Patriot.
Okay, as soon as he plays. Yeah, and I will try to come back and check for ads. Rumble don't have as many ads as YouTube, thankfully. Okay, this is a little ad that I had played the other day, but I took it off because I realized I wasn't gonna be able to do it. Okay, now I'm gonna shut up. Let me know if you can hear the video. You can hear it, guys. And like I said, I will be coming in and out watching this with you guys.
Rescue the Fosters is about changing the foster system.
I know these ladies too, they're great.
Has a safe environment to grow and become healthy, successful adults.
Additionally, when I was in the foster care system...
I'm sorry, I said I wasn't going to run my mouth, but these two ladies here, one is a ex foster care worker. The other one used to be a foster kid, and they work together. And it's crazy. We got a lot of activists that are trying to help. I think we need to be more organized, just like we do. But at least in this community here, and I have to say, they don't sit there and pick each other apart. They work together. And when one's weak, the other one's strong. And if they see somebody doing something that they don't approve of or they don't think is beneficial, they tell them in private. They don't sit there and try to be ugly to each other. Okay, back to the video. I'm sorry. I'm not supposed to be preaching. Not today.
system, I had to defend for myself.
Okay, let me make sure I get the volume up again. I might have messed the volume up. I'm not going to keep messing with it, guys. I just want to say that one thing. I just want to tell you who these ladies were.
What we observed was that children become... institutionalize and end up in prison and providing the government with more funds.
Rescue the Fosters.
Give me
will
one more
provide
one and
coaching,
I'll leave you
resume
alone.
writing, interview skills, professional attire for interviews, budgeting, applying for college, and obtaining housing.
We want these youth to live the most freeing, successful life possible.
It is their right and our responsibility to ensure that our future kids and grandchildren can live happy lives.
Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord.
Plans that prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future.
Welcome to Rescue the Fosters. I am Gino, your host, and we are hosting a very special event tonight for our good friend, Megan Walsh. We have named it affectionately the MEGHAN-LODON Marathon. That's what I'm calling it anyway. I like the marathon thing. Because this might go all night, folks. You might be here all night. That's what we're hoping. We're going to put out a lot of valuable information for you, a lot of statistics. Megan's going to tell her whole story so everybody is aware of what's going on. And we're going to expose a lot of criminals that have been doing a lot of bad things with our children in this nation and against parents. So I am excited about tonight. Ladies, I am not going to introduce you individually. I will go around the horn. Pam, let's start with you. Who is Pam Olson?
Probably helps if I unmute, huh? I'm Pamela Olson. I am founder of Save Our Children. Save Our Children began in 2016. I gave it to myself as a 50th birthday present. Now you all know how old I am. We have brought home collectively 50,000 children. I have done almost 3,000 personally. And there is absolutely no perfect time like now than to save these children that are in foster care. And thank you so much. So excited to be here tonight with Miss Beachy and with Miss Walsh. It's going to be an amazing night.
Awesome. How about you, Sylvia? Miss Beachy, the Georgia Bulldog?
well, I thought I was prepared until Pam went. I gotta be right there with her. But no, Pam is one of the reasons that I started Rescue the Fosters. When I was working in the foster system, I started doing research. And Pam was one of the first people that I met and kind of confirmed what I was learning in the system. So I am with Rescue the Fosters, co-founder with KK Emmett, and I think she will be joining us soon. But we are here to advocate for children in the foster system, but also families fighting the foster system. And that's how I was connected with Megan Walsh.
And you can visit their website, Rescue the Fosters, at rescuethefosters.org. Give them a look and even drop them a donation if you'd like, or an email. That would be great. Sylvia is one busy woman. Her phone rings nonstop since she started the organization with KK. So, and speaking of KK, she has joined us, but I'm going to let Megan go ahead. And, Megan, before I start, I do want to throw this out there. I am so thankful. Actually, we are all grateful and thankful for all of the streamers that are partaking tonight in this stream. It is amazing what y'all are doing. We appreciate you guys so much. And I would, if you guys can go ahead and drop your links, drop all links all night long in the Rumble chat, your channels, where people can find you on social media, give us all your coordinates, throw that in the Rumble chat all night. You can, don't worry about spamming. I'm not worried about that. We're just very thankful that you all are helping us out in this very special event. Okay, Megan, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Gino. It's an honor to be having this tonight, to be honest. Obviously, I am Megan Walsh. I am most known for being the daughter of John Walsh, but I'm most honored to be the sister of Adam Walsh. For those of you that aren't familiar with who I am, I actually left the fashion and music industry, politics, everything, to be a mother years ago and to speak out about the wrongdoings within these different demographics, if you will, regarding our children. So tonight I'm here really, as many people have seen me for the past 2 years, really speaking out. Before my children were taken, my children were actually taken. My father, John Walsh, weaponized the CPS system against me, as well as the local sheriff and everything else, which is not actually an uncommon situation. This is happening as well across our country. There are many different ways that this happens, and I don't want this one to be missed as well. So I have been speaking out prior to my children against the corruption within CPS and family courts for the past years. And then my children were taken, as many know, in April of 2021. And I've been fighting this domestic terrorism for 2 years now to regain, my family and my children, to keep them safe. So this has just only pushed me further into the advocacy and speaking out that I have been doing prior to any of this actually affecting me. And, this isn't about me. I'm here speaking out because I want to represent, and I want to be a voice for those that aren't heard, for all of these families across this country, all the mothers and fathers that are, grieving and fighting for their children for decades now. Children have rights, and children have a right to their biological families. And, we really need to start coming from that grounding and that foundation when addressing these issues. And unfortunately, at this point with our system, it is not that way. Yes, there is good in the system, but unfortunately, that is not the majority at this point. And it needs to be addressed for the well-being of our children and our families. It's not just the focus on our children, it's focus on the families and keeping them together, the nuclear family. That is what is best for children, and we know that. So I'm looking forward to tonight going into, the logistics of that in more detail, but I'm very honored to be here tonight, and I'm honored to, as horrific as my situation is, I am honored to be in this fight and to be speaking out for our children. And I won't stop, as many people know. So thank you.
Well, I know I'm speaking for the ladies here, but Meghan, it is an honor to know you and become a friend with you over this last year and so many months. Working with you and just seeing how courageous you are is always an inspiration to me, and I know to the ladies also. And we are just so proud to be part of this movement to end this nonsense that's been going on against our children. And we're just, I personally, I'm very thankful. We've talked several times, and I just love you to death. She's my little sis. All of you are my little sis. Even Pamela. Pamela's my little sis. Sorry. Pamela's my just a little bit older sis. Sorry.
Just a tad.
No, you know what, Meghan?
We are definitely all family here, and that has been one of the most wonderful parts of all of this. Again, in the horror, we all
examine things. Her own brother's death. And, unfortunately, it went south, and this is where we're at. But we're very, very thankful that we've met her, and thankful
I look like shit, but who cares? That's not what's important. Okay. I look like shit, but who cares? Come on, baby. You can do it. Are we okay now?
Current secretary for DHHS is Mr. Xavier Becerra. Underneath Mr. Becerra is
We okay, guys?
that is the
Give
assistant
me a one.
health and
Thanks.
human services. That is Rachel Levine, who is no more Rachel than Gino is. And then you've got the actual CWS director. So they've got this department 3 departments deep so that no parent can easily get to it. So what are we talking about when we talk about CPS? What is it that Ms. Walsh has decided to step up, put her name out there, put her family out there for all of us to look at? It's this bad, folks, when you've got somebody who literally puts their life on the line to bring this information to you. It is incumbent upon you to truly hear it. We have at any given time 450,000 American children in what we call formalized foster care. That includes group homes and then, of course, foster care homes. We have another 425 any given day, month, or week, 425,000 children that are in soft foster care, meaning they're with a family or a close friend of the family. Then we've got 800,000 children that go missing every year in America that have nothing to do with family law and nothing to do with CPS. And here's our newest stat that was confirmed by Ms. Rodas in her testimony Wednesday and Tuesday. 85,000 migrant children have been lost by DHHS, HHS, CPS, 1630 Foundation, and Catholic Charities. What are we really talking about here when we talk about NCMEC, when we talk about international social services? International social services is CPS for the world, and we, the American people, pay through the nose for the privilege of trafficking millions of children annually all around the world and within our nation. When we look at this, it is not that there are that many children that are in need of life or death rescuing. This has become, if you think of a mafia and how a mafia makes their money, and the Shylocks, I now suggest to you, CPS is nothing more than a Shylock system to feed a larger mafia system through what we call Title IV funds. What are Title IV funds? You know, this is all new to us, Pamela. What on earth are you trying to tell us? I'm trying to tell you there is a massive laundering scheme that all 50 states have been in, red or blue. I don't want to hear this red or blue stuff. They all make massive amounts of federal dollars off of this Title IV program that's based right in your Social Security Disability Trust Fund that is now on schedule to be completely broke, if you want to believe this elected chief and trafficker in chief Biden. 2026 is when that goes broke. Why? All states who have CPS up and running, which is all 50, in every county, nobody brings home the federal tax dollars like CPS. And what is the business of CPS? Children. The easiest and fastest growing group of federal dollars are those who provide services for children or who are working for the county in CPS and or the court services. This CPS system has 3 to 4 levels so that you are getting a bite out of that same apple over and over and over again. They are paid for foster care. They are paid for group homes. They are paid to keep these children away from family and or bonded friends that they know, because that would be far too healthy. Why do they do this? Every day, a child under 5, let's take California for example, will make almost $1,800 a day off of one 5-year-old in foster care. Okay. When I tell you in 2016, California made $200 billion, 2016, $200 billion extra that paid for the service that the county charged for all 58 counties here. And then literally through their OMB decided this would have cost this much in the private market. So we have all of our legislators that are in on this, all of our governors that are in on this, and they can't let this go because their over-bloated budgets, we would all go bankrupt. So if you've got a new road, you can thank a foster child for that. If you've got a new library, you can thank a foster child for that. If you have a new job opening in your county or state, you can thank a foster child for that, because we are literally talking hundreds of billions of dollars that go out to all 50 states. And don't think, oh, well, I've got this governor and he's really good. He would never let that happen. Gavin Newsom has opened up California as the transgender sanctuary state. So we are pulling children as far as Florida, as far as Wyoming, Montana, anywhere where the transgendering will not happen. Gavin Newsom can now charge the federal government and the state where that child came from triple dipping pretty much off of CPS as they grab these children and continue to do a Dr. Mengele experimentation on trying to transition, making a dog a cat and a cat a dog. Whether you are a boy transitioning into female or a female transitioning into boy, they are getting these children at elementary and middle school levels. They're calling CPS, or the counselors are saying, this little boy wants to be a little girl. These CPS agents are coming out, grabbing these children up for a mutilation exercise that should have gotten CPS to go and pick up the parents and file criminal charges. When you understand they are using our children as a social secular movement to get the American moral and ethic to change, when you realize they are now running America UN Agenda 2050, it takes we, the people, we're going to come and take your child from you, as Biden said, it takes a village. They're the village. It's a club, and it's a big one, and be glad that you're not in it. This is what we're talking about. This is a corrupt organization that has gotten into our schools. It has gotten into our churches. It has gotten into our families. It's even gotten into our libraries and our preschools. This is massive. It's huge. Megan, I saw your hand go up. I know you're ready to fill in and chew. Go, girl.
Thanks, Pam.
No, what even just the last point you made, how you said they're in every this, they're in every that. This is, if you know, the viewers would like to go research for themselves, this is the NamBLA agenda. This is North American Man Boy Lovers Association, which says that it had closed down, and it has not. It has chapters in every community across this country, and their congressional proposals and work even state directly that, Pam, saying we will be in every church, in every bathroom, in every school, in every store. We will be everywhere. And I think that people don't understand when they're viewing these things and hearing about these things. I think that a big point here that should be brought up is ideology. We're really dealing a lot with ideology these days. It's very subjective in the climate of America, and vernaculars being taken as null and void. You know, perspectives are null and void. Logic is null and void, it kind of seems at this point. And, you know, NamBLA's, you know, their tagline is sex before 8 or it's too late. And when I say ideology, I mean that, you know, we as the viewers and the masses are really looking at pedophilia and these issues as, oh my gosh, this is so disgusting. Like, there's no way that all these people are, you know, involved in this, or, you know, we just know how foul pedophilia is. And there's no way, like, we have cognitive dissonance about this. But the fact is that when you believe in ideology that is that the masses are actually ruining children by not bringing them up exposed to sexual encounters with adults, you're dealing in a completely different ball game. You have to put yourself in the minds. You know, my father, even himself, and I won the speaking contest in high school on my speech regarding inside the criminal mind. And, you know, these days we really have to start putting ourselves in the mindset, not taking it on ourselves, but being able to delineate between that and what the mentality of someone that can do these things, or someone like CPS that can take these children and sleep at night. You know, this is this is a very, this is a huge issue regarding humanity and our hearts and where we're really at this point. And I really think that a disconnect, we've had a lot of this exaggerated dialogue and narratives in the mainstream media, on social media platforms. Oh, they're eating this, they're drinking that, is this pedophile that, well, you know what, I grew up with, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And the public, unfortunately, the masses have really taken on to how it's said versus what is actually being said. And being, sophisticated enough, with all due respect, to put themselves in different perspectives or different mindsets regarding this, to actually be able to solve the issue and understand what is going on here. CPS, as a trained professional and therapist specializing in trauma, and also awakening, actually, CPS truly is a coercive control mechanism. And it is abusing. It is it's a Hegelian dialect of problem, reaction, solution, and they're creating this trauma. They're traumatizing families. We have over 80% of removals at this point are unfounded. And that's a huge concern. No one, my big thing in all of this has been, there is no perspective of the child taken into account. These are all adult issues. This is courts, this is legalities, this is opinions, CPS is a social experiment at this point, and it always has been. I shouldn't say at this point, excuse me. CPS is a social experiment, just like transgender issue with our children is a social experiment. You all need to start realizing that. We need to get a grip on this, and we've taken the bait of PC, of identity politics. This needs to end, and we have to get to the real fundamentals. I might come off harsh sometimes, or straightforward or whatever, but we're here to do a mission. We are here for our children, and to talk against a huge narrative that has been set across our country, ingrained in the minds of the American public for decades by the traffickers themselves. Now, why would that be so crazy? If these people are doing such horrific things that we are openly talking about, where we have the science, we have the testimonies, we have the funding breakdowns, we have everything. So of course, the criminals are going to have brainwashed the public. Of course, the criminals are going to say, we're doing it, it's in the guise of help. And we've seen this across our nation, these things, these issues that are given to the public through MSM with very emotional, traumatizing. It's trauma-based mind control. You're given a traumatic situation or a story, and it then makes you go into help mode, because that's taking advantage of the fact that the people of this country and the masses are good people at heart. I know we all know that they are here, and that's why we're here tonight, and that's why we speak out every day. But when you are taking the good people and you're giving them a very emotional, traumatic scenario, and the way that it's put out then makes the rest of it not question. People don't question that. That's been seen with my parents, and seen with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which has been given ungodly authority as a nonprofit over it. Like, government agencies give National Center for Missing and Exploited Children authority. So we need to just be looking at these issues. That's again why we're here tonight. But we literally shifting our perspective, our vernacular. What are child predators at this point in our society? Everything evolves. We know that. So why wouldn't we be updating our definition of what a child predator is? And to be honest, when you look at who that is not crazy, quote unquote. That is very actually logical. If you were a predator, you are obsessed with children, you want to get your hands on children, and you didn't want to get caught for it, and it's children, so of course you're going to be like a pillar, right? So you go and you put yourself in a place of position, a teacher, a principal, a foster care parent, a foster care worker, a celebrity that protects children, an organization. like Polaris or the Clinton Foundation. You know, this is what you do. If you want to get, if you are a high level, we're not talking about low level people here. They're using the low level people. They're using all of us, but these are not dumb people that we're talking about. These are elites. These are politicians. And this is within every community that there is. You all have original families. You all have families in your town that, you know, are all in law enforcement or all teachers or on the school board. This is a very grounded, simple thing that we need to address here, this issue. And it has been so blown out of proportion, which should actually disgust people. Not blown out of proportion in terms of, we got to freaking do something right now, we're all in the streets, but blown out of proportion in terms of gaslighting the public as to what this really is. This system, as I said earlier, is a coercive control system. This is the epitome of narcissistic abuse, of coercive control, of gaslighting. I could go on for days, so I'll stop. But we need to understand what this is and the fact that it affects every single person. We've got a real issue in America, and it breaks my heart that Americans really truly do hold this subconscious perspective that if it's not happening to me, I don't need to worry about it.
So true. So true. So Megan, it almost sounds like you're saying in the best interest of the child. That's just like a cute catchphrase or something. I don't know. I'm getting these weird vibes.
Well, Gino, you know, we're given scripts. Like my background is politics, media, you know, entertainment, all of this. And as an observer, even like I didn't even get up and be the puppet. You know, well, fashion, that's arguable, but you know what I'm trying to say. But observing, you know, and once I got in there, I was out like, you know, the day is long. But you know, and that was a definite experience that people really need to understand. Again, going to that, we don't live in the same world that they do. People really do not understand how the elites live, how they think, their ideology, how much is actually done for them. I admit, like I didn't know, because I was brought up in it, I was born into it, and it was always why I was kind of like the what am I trying to say? The resistant one or whatnot. But I wanted to do things for myself, and I didn't understand why it was like, okay, well, we have accountants, we have managers, we have stylists, we have, you know, bodyguards, we have, you know, all these different things, and people don't understand what that is. And I think that that's a big point, you know, in the beginning of this, for people to really start to understand when we hear things like a global trafficking network, and we hear about this, it's not as crazy, unfortunately, as it's being put out to be. It's very fundamental. It's organized crime, and it's domestic within our country, and it goes out elsewhere, as we're seeing with Hunter Biden. You know, we just saw a lot of people are posting, and I thank you, about the 2016 award to Hunter Biden in honor of his brother Beau, by the National Center for Missing Exploited Children, and my parents presenting that. And, you know, a lot of people now are saying, oh, well, that was 2016. Well, Hunter Biden's crimes and his addictions did not start after 2016. I hate to tell you, they've been going on for a long time, and that is part of him being, you know, raised in the environment that we all were raised in. And I'm not defending Hunter Biden in any way, just like I don't defend my parents. We're all adults here, and we're responsible for our actions and our decisions and what we get involved in. But it's also not to negate where, you know, humanity is really having this opening of consciousness that maybe born with a silver spoon in your mouth isn't exactly an ideal or wonderful situation, let alone not having any choice in it. So, you know, for Hunter, it's horrific what's going on, and we'll get into that for sure. I know I'm just touching the surface on different things here in the beginning, but you know, I think this goes to a bigger issue, and it will within CPS and what we're talking about, that we all have crap. We all have hardships. We all have a past, you know, and we're now in this environment, and we're all subjectively judging each other, and really losing like what is fundamentally harmful to society or to children. We're too busy in our egos. And even I will say in the CPS movement and everyone making such great efforts, it's been so heartbreaking to see ego get in the way. You know, we are all here to save children. We all started in this for the same reason. And the same goes for the CPS workers that are doing this to us. You know, we should all be on the same page. And I understand that we all have different ideas of how to solve this, right? But when we're at a point that the masses they laugh this off. Like, we're still at a point where the masses of America who claim good people, you know, this is all about the children. This is all about the children. And everyone's silent. If you say that CPS is trafficking, it's, oh, you're so crazy, or, oh, what are you talking about? There must be more to the story. We'd rather shame and judge our fellow neighbor than to actually find out more to be able to protect the most innocent on this planet. So for me, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. And I will never be okay with that, like most of Americans are at this point. And that needs to change. That's why we're here.
You know, Megan, we've all been conditioned to think that way, though, that the parents are just bad people. That's why the kids were taken. The parents are terrible human beings. They're drug addicts. They're abusers. You know, they're this or that. I mean, I know growing up in middle America that if we saw a foster kid or something like that, you thought they had horrible parents. That was just the assumption every kid had. How that was drilled into my brain at that point, I have no idea, but there was this stigma that had already arisen. You know, that's in the late 70s, early 80s that I was, you know, hearing those things. So it's not shocking to me that most people are unaware of what's going on. But it's time to wake up, folks.
Yeah.
This is the, you know, a lot of us in the patriotic movement, you know, we call it the Great Awakening. Well, this is part of the Great Awakening. In fact, it's the biggest piece of the Great Awakening, in my opinion. So we can't ignore it. It's time to do something about it. And before I go too far and go off on some rant, I just want to make sure that everybody understands we are doing a fundraiser here tonight. Yes, you're going to get great information. You're going to hear some great opinions and statistics and things like that. But we are trying to raise money for Megan's cause. There's lots of things that creep up in what's gone on over her life in the last 2+ years. So there's costs that we need to address, and we're going to win the battle, but it costs money. So we would definitely appreciate anything you can do. We do know it's hard times. We understand, you know, we're living in a country that's not doing so hot economically right now, but if you can spare anything, we would appreciate it. You know, I think we're on 14 different platforms tonight, maybe 15 at last count. And we appreciate all of you guys again. I just want to thank you over and over again.
And I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. We've got a storm going on, so I apologize if I do tonight, but I also want to say that we've already reached almost $1,000. I think it's $1,000 before we even started the broadcast tonight.
Thank you so
I
much.
want to thank everyone really for donating and really understanding how important this is. To be honest, I'm sick of myself after these 2 years. I had left the industry to become a mother, and I was very happy doing that. I was developing a community family learning farm. I was helping with natural birth and lifestyle, and keeping families, helping them through these times. And it was amazing work that I was doing, and I will return to that. But this is something that I have come forward because I know that it's not just me. I am one example of countless cases and testimonies that this is happening across our country. And that's actually how I got into it to begin with, was really looking into this Save Our Children thing. And, when it was, Epstein list and Epstein, and they're not giving it to us. And, we're at the mercy of these bigger powers, and I was like, wait a second though, we know who would be there. I've been giving parts of the list for 2 years now, and I think that why I bring that up is because I want the people to really realize that the power is in our hands, okay? Especially with ending this situation. A lot of people write it off because they say, oh, there's nothing we can do. Oh my God, it's so horrific. I can't listen to this. I can't hear her. I can't listen to this. And I understand that. But they're also, this is not personal. This is not about you. Okay. This is the truth of it. And you are part of the problem at this point. If you think you can sleep at night just going, oh, that's too horrific for me to hear. Because do you have the balls to sit and tell a child that's being trafficked across our border or being raped by a pedophile that they were just given to, or their father that's an abuser and sexual abuser that now they're at a reunification camp with and can't talk to their mother and they're terrified, or the children, the countless children that have been taken out of their homes and put in strangers' homes and told this is your new home for money? This is completely illogical at this point. This is completely against science. We know that the best interest of the children is in their primary environment, logical family. These are adult issues of why these children are being taken at this point. If there's a crime or neglect, we have a criminal justice system for that. The parents should be charged, the children should be taken, and that's handled a different way for another night, you know? And again, I want to focus on just realizing that this is an issue and the different ways that this is happening. And then once we can get there, we start talking about better ways, right? Which many of us that have been in this for a while have many great ways to change this. I know a lot of workers, a lot of attorneys, a lot of judges, a lot of GALs will not come out about it because this is their life. This is their bread and butter. This is what they've done. And they're afraid that they won't have a place after this. And if you actually are honest, one of two things is going to happen. You can keep going about it and you will go down with the rest of them, okay, eventually and soon. Or you can step up and have courage and feel great and say, you know what, I got into this for the best interest of children. And what I've witnessed here and within this department or where I've worked, this is not in the best interest of children. And I'm here humbling myself and putting my pride down, my God complex that I'm here to save children. And I'm here humbly to hear better ways that we can do this and how we can address this, because, you know, children do belong in their homes with their biological parents. And if there's an issue of domestic violence or financial or substance abuse, then any of our tax money that's going towards helping humanity, helping the American people, should be towards services to ensure that that recovery is there, right? Why are we splitting it up and saying, oh, we're helping the parents and we're doing services? They don't. They don't. They harass you. There's no energy of support, of proactive, of we want to do this. It is all against you. And the ladies can definitely get into this, especially Sylvia being an ex-case manager and worker. And, you know, again, that comes back to, I'll hand it over to her in a second, but, you know, that comes back to too many people are coming out from all aspects of this, talking about that this is an issue. So at what point does this say, okay, this is a failing business, this is a failing industry? We now have immigrant children being brought over the border and put into our CPS system because traffickers know. Why are they bringing them here? If I was a trafficker, I would bring a child to a setup and a system that I knew was already well oiled.
Right.
Makes too much sense.
They're being right in. And DeSantis himself in Florida takes in over 130,000 immigrant children into DCF while he's doing a thing, sending migrants up north, and this whole media PR crap that I've watched my entire life to distract. We're not okay with this. I'm here for the people. I love everyone, but I do not love corruption.
Amen, sister.
I just want to say something real quick. Have you noticed Meghan's not crazy? She's very articulate, very intelligent, but yet the accusations made against her, and one of the reasons for her children being taken was because she is crazy. I've known Meghan for, I don't know, over a year. All the ladies have known Meghan longer than I have. Meghan is not crazy, folks. You can tell. She just gave you a long diatribe of facts, information, well articulated, brilliant, actually. So it's time to get over this stigma that's been placed on moms and dads across this nation, saying they're crazy. And that is one of the tools in their bag that they use, is that the parent is crazy. We've got to take the kid. Like, it's ridiculous. It's let's knock off the nonsense. Enough is enough. I want to shout out real quick.
That's a big thing, Dino. That's a big thing. That's very important in this, is that these are the state is taking and doing the prosecution in the court, and then it's handed over to a private business in your community that is handling this. This is not government. These are hirees that get trained, and none of them have training in child psychology, in family
So
dynamics, in domestic violence or abuse, in substance abuse. Like, these people should have to have the highest qualifications and education, if you ask me. I know, again, I'm crazy, but you know, this is what it is. It is a system that makes you crazy. It's called crazy making in psychology. I wish there was a more, you know, sophisticated, crazier term.
Crazy making itis.
Crazy. It is crazy making-itis. It's coercive control. It's gaslighting. You are guilty until proven innocent. You will never be able to prove yourself innocent. The goalpost will keep moving. They will find excuses. The people, we have to also pay attention to the contracted, you know, people that are there. They are using the lowest of the lowest doctors and services and everything, because those are the people that will go along with it so that they can all collect money on it. This is not rocket science.
You have to laugh at it, because it's so ridiculous. This would not fly in any other, other than the government. The government, that's the only place this stuff works.
What prompted that is that, well, what prompted that is PTSD and domestic violence situations or trauma are being misdiagnosed as bipolar and more serious things. And that, again, is for another night, but it goes into our modern mental health industry, and it is an industry. There are many ways to heal from trauma. Jesus is number one, but you know, there are many ways for sitting and what I've spent many years of my life to learn and go into practicums on people and really understand where trauma comes from and how that really affects us later, and that we don't realize that. And you know, instead of shaming and punishing and all of this, when this is supposed to be a civil arena, it's not civil. It's uglier than criminal court, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
Real quick, want to shout out to Curious Patriot in the chat, and our good friend Tony Triano. What's up, Tony? Good to see you. Thanks for modding.
Tony.
Tony's modding. She's doing.
I know we have awesome people. I want to give a shout out to 5D Grandma. I want to give a shout out to American Amy. I mean, we've got everyone on there. I'll give some more shout outs later, but we've got many great people.
That's why I want you guys to go ahead and put that in the chat. Please do. On most people, it looks like, are on Rumble. So go ahead and put your channels in the chat. Put anything you want in the chat. Don't worry about spamming us. We appreciate you guys. We're thankful for you. Again, guys, this is a fundraiser. Please, if you can donate, it's Cash App. You can do $ Rescue the Fosters, or you can go directly to Megan's Family Farm and Faith at gmail.com. We would definitely appreciate that. Thank you very much. Also, KK, if you're out there, I know you want to join us. So whenever you're ready, come back in and I'll let you in. Sylvia.
Yeah. So, well, I just want to back up what Pam and Megan are saying. Someone that works in the system, I would like to go over what really hit me while I was working in the system. And it was the children that really hit my heart. And that was because children aren't just taken into the foster system and then just dropped and stabilized. They miss their family. They cry for their family. They run away for their family. They become depressed. Then they're put on, they're diagnosed, and then they're put on psychotropic medication, and they're kind of just made to function to get through the day. And that was the one thing that I noticed, was that it was the children that really needed, they needed stability, they needed love, they needed nurture. And that was not a part of the foster system at all. So I do want to say that it's the children that need us. And then I want to also go over some policies and procedures on, just as Pam was saying, that there are, so many children missing right now. And why is that? And I feel like that is by design, and it's because of the policies and procedures in place as a case manager. And I think that this is something that can be fixed and should be fixed immediately. In fact, according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, 86% of sex trafficking victims come from the foster system. And I think I'm actually low on that number. I think it's actually 86 to 90%.
Yep.
So it sounds like the foster system is actually complicit in sex trafficking. And that is a huge number. If we got rid of the foster system, we could actually solve sex trafficking.
Yes.
And we could fix a lot of these policies. I mean, we're coming up with it right now, guys. We just need your help to abolish CPS. So another one of the policies and procedures on runaways. So runaways are, there's no missing report for them. As a case manager, you don't call 911 to report it. You call your local police department. So there is no 911 record. There's no search party. You basically call in and you have the police come out. They do a police report. You describe what the child was wearing. When I was a staff at a group home, I would go look for the child. And so I would be the one looking while the other staff stayed back. But I knew that if I didn't find this child within the first 2 miles, they were gone. And so it was kind of a shocker when I started working in the system, and every day there was a runaway. You know, you don't hear that on the news. You don't hear that. There's no Amber Alerts, so you're not notified. There's no 911 calls. There's no missing reports. And the majority of the time, we didn't see these kids again. Sometimes they would come back, and that was because of the weather. It was cold. It was raining. It was, tough conditions. But runaways happen during the day. They don't happen at night, not like people think. It's usually when something is set off, sets the child off. And we are getting donations. Thank you. I see them coming in. Thank you. So this is, I just want to give a shout out. We definitely need money for Megan's attorney. So every little bit helps.
Miss Sylvia, 1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Curious Patriot, a good friend here in the Foxhole, has donated 2 fleets and a ship. Okay, buddy.
Yay, I don't know what that means.
You're amazing. I'll tell you after, but it's really good. Thank you so much, man. It's about the best you can do. Yeah.
I want to say thank you, but also I want to take a second, Sylvia, to address what you're talking about with runaways. Just with a quick firsthand testimony, a dear mother friend of ours, of all of ours, actually an amazing woman in this fight. She actually ended up calling CPS because her daughter was, on drugs and being trafficked. And she called CPS, and they would not respond to her. They took the daughter in, but then they wouldn't respond to her. They wouldn't respond to the attorney. So she went out and she is a writer. She's on Newsbreak. She's an amazing woman, and she went out and really spread the word about it. And there's a lot of issues there. But the point here is that eventually CPS ended up putting her on the National Center for Missing Exploited Children missing list, which never happens, as Sylvia just explained. And within a week, they had taken her off, indicating that she was found when she wasn't found at all. CPS did not find her at all. The mother had to hire a private investigator, and her and the mother had to go out in the streets and find her daughter, and who is now beautiful and clean just months later. So I wanted to say, to back up what Sylvia is saying, there are firsthand accounts and testimonies they're countless at this point of how they are failing. And that is one example involving National Center for Missing Exploited Children.
I've got a history rant ready that fits right in with what beautiful Georgia Bulldog Sylvia Beachy just said. And of course, Megan. Megan's so brave. We are so appreciative for you folks. Please donate what you can. If you can offer a prayer, we want them. If you can, I always say everyone's got a talent. If you have a talent or you have a means that you want to help, reach out to us. Any of us, Gina,
Yeah.
myself, Sylvia, Megan, we are happy to tell you this is what we need. If you're into making memes, if you're into making stickers, we want to talk to you. Yes, we need finances. What I want you to know about CPS, 1974 is when CPS was born, if you will, as an actual bill, as what we currently know as CPS. Before that was the golden age of social work, which Miss Beachy can tell you about. 1968 to about 1972, it was in-home, hands-up services. So if your wife was having a baby and dad had 4 kids and the 5th kid just got there and he's in over his head, they would actually have housekeeping services come in. They would come in and check, make sure the newborn is okay, make sure mom is okay. This is where even the FBI, the American Pediatric Association, and even psychology for minors and for trauma victims state that these children do much better 99% of the time in an environment they already know, even if that environment is a risk or danger to their person. So how did we get here? Here we have got MEGHAN-LODON today, and we are asking for as much support as we can get from our nation to stop CPS. We have decided to take a stand because we all know that there are better ways to get this done. 1974, Senator Mondale signed into law or signed the act of CPS, CAPTA. That is the Children Abuse and Prevention Act. That was the law of the land for a very long time until Bill and Hillary Clinton came in, wrote up their legislation known as ASFA, which is the American Safe Families Act. It went in 1998, was signed in, Hillary's bill. What's the difference between CAPTA and ASFA? ASFA only allows you to have 15 months to get your child back in what they call reunification services, which means you're going to run through a bunch of flaming hula hoops just to be told you're not good enough. Meanwhile, the foster provider that has your child or the group home that has your child is covered in bruises, is filthy, is wearing clothes that are dirty, probably has lost some weight or has gained a ton of weight. I hear stories where foster providers lock children after they have their 1 meal a day. And this is a case I currently have out of LA County, 1 meal a day, and then you're locked in your room. No telephone, no TV, no nothing, not even the lights on. You want to know where these children are traumatized. They're traumatized the moment CPS worker puts their big old hand on your child, puts them in the car, stops just before they take them to the emergency foster care, take almost everything off of them. So even if your child is perfectly clean, I have seen and we have video of caseworkers stopping the car, taking the kid all the way down to the ditty and maybe a t-shirt, rubbing dirt on them, messing up their hair, getting them to cry so they look a complete mess when you go to the fosters. Why is this important? Foster care are private citizens paid to watch children. CPS uses them as snitches. CPS uses them as, I know you want to adopt children. If you do everything we ask of you, this child could be yours. CPS lies and treats them horrifically. Then you've got those children who are getting ready to age out. CPS used to just kick them to the curb, and that is that. How many of you saw the video of the developmentally disabled twins whose adoptive parents dropped them off in, of all places, Georgia, because that was one of the places, and literally said, you no longer have a family, you're on your own, you're 18. Why? They're not getting paid for them anymore. This is about money, money, money. And the money pit is so big and so deep and so wide, trying to shut that off is near impossible without support of the nation. And in order for support, you all need to have awareness. From 1974 to 1998, this social secular entity that requires reaching into the DA's office so that they have a lawyer. That tells you CPS has no oath authority to investigate. They have no oath authority to even go and grab your children, which is why they drag law enforcement officers with them, as though that will give them credence. Law enforcement officers do not oath to uphold your constitutional duty, much less your children's. They oath to city managers. So they do what they're told in order to keep their job. Okay. Same with social workers, same with caseworkers. These aren't evil people necessarily until they get in there and realize they have all the power. And sadly, they usually go for personalities that are the wallflower types, the bee type personalities. Someone's got a chip on their shoulder. You give these types of power, the disgusting things that they do, the lies that they tell, the twisting up of your life to where you lose your job, you lose your home, you lose your car, you lose your children, you lose everything, which is right where CPS wants you. So by the time you're at the end of your case, CPS can say, well, mom and dad went ahead and did everything they were supposed to, but they're homeless now, so we're going to go ahead and adopt these children out. It's a game system beginning to end. It is very important that the American people understand this. You have neighbors who are sick and tired of children being loud, and you're older and you're cranky and you don't want to hear it. They'll call CPS and say, it sounds like people are killing each other in the backyard. You've got someone doesn't like your cat pooping in the roses. You've got an ex that cannot stand that you've moved on and you've got a new Mr. or Mrs. in your life. Grandparents who are angry at their adult children for not raising their grandchildren the same way they would or how they raised you. They are the largest growing group who call CPS. Now, do I understand that there are grandparents out there already raising their children? The fentanyl crisis is really bad. Trank has hit really hard. We have a mental health crisis sweeping across this nation due to what has been going on this past 2.5 years. When I tell you this is a psyop on top of a psyop run by a mafia, I am not kidding you. This is about money and then telling you, the American people, you're crazy if your lying eyes finally tell you the truth, which is CPS is hell for children. CPS is the trauma maker. CPS has been cited by large organizations like the AMA, the American Pediatric Society, FBI. 88 to 92% of all foster children, and this was I almost said 1914. This was 2014 when this stat came out, when the FBI knows this. And what is the FBI doing now? Hanging out and throwing drag shows for adults with NCMEC as a fundraiser. Hear that. The FBI, the #1 people on that red line that you're supposed to be able to call and say, hey, these people are doing this to my child, help. I'm not asking for help for me. I'm asking you to help the child, which is in part of their oath and investigative services. And what did they just come out and say less than 9 months ago? We're not looking into this anymore. Who are they now joined up with? NCMEC, and throwing adult drag shows as though not having children there somehow makes it okay. We even have Kevin Bacon coming out and saying, oh, drag shows are wonderful. It's all part of a very old type, called vaudeville, called pornography, called
fetish,
called perverted and fetish. If you wouldn't take your child to a all gay, all male nude review, then you shouldn't be taking your child to a drag show. What is that teaching a child? Sure, they're nice and bright and there's music, but you've got really gross, disgusting people dressed up as women wagging their flab in your child's face. What are you hoping that will teach your child? I need parents to hear the unvarnished truth. This isn't fun. This isn't cute. There's nothing great about what they are doing. They will use anything. 5 years ago, it was, you're a Trump supporter. I don't know how many parents I had to help get their children out of family law in a custody battle because they wouldn't take a talk shot. They wouldn't wear a mask. They didn't go along to get along, and the other parent would. There was a massive culling of children over this last 5 years over just that. Trump supporter. I mean, whatever.
People need to understand that this has now become, and I hate to use the cliche terms, but this has now become a globalist mechanism. I mean, this is not under our control anymore. This is not, and also, if we're going to be living in a society where things are so politicized, where every aspect of life is so politicized, going off of what you just said, Pamela, we need to be making sure that there's equality. We're talking about all this equality. Well, I guess just like we're literally at that point. Are there equal Republicans or conservatives as there are Democrats in this system? Because if you actually look, the majority are Democrats. I have yet to meet one Republican or conservative that's actually working within this system. A lot of them claim God and claim to be, Christians. That's a big issue. because we know what the Lord says about people that mess with children and those fabulous millstones. But you know, we need to understand that these are different demographics of people. I mean, that's a whole thing, again, going into that psychology and this God complex. And that brings up for me the issue that people aren't understanding. The issues here within CPS are accountability, oversight, and the high levels of almost absolute immunity that they're given. People are saying, well, no, there would be no, they can't get away with this. No, they did. Yes, they can. The state protects the private businesses that are contracted. They give them their legal services. They give them their covering, and they will always win. And the GALs, guardian ad litems, or any of the services always go along with the state because that's who's paying them. I mean, this is very obvious. This is how business works.
Yeah, and I do want to say to that, Megan, that as a case manager, we were not allowed to write good things about the biological parent. In our notes, we were told that we had to give strengths of the foster parent, and you basically make the foster parent look like the good one. And then what you do is you write all the bad things about the biological parent.
Well, and you're absolutely right, because what we're talking about here is very in correlation with this trans kids issue that we're dealing with. So that is the notion of grooming. Okay, that is the notion of grooming, and it happens in many different ways. It happens to you every day when you're groomed by a celebrity or anything to even like them. So, you know, in CPS, what we have to understand is that yes, good people go into this, right? They go in with a heart, but the issue isn't even as much. It is an issue, and they do know what they're doing eventually, but it's not as much of an issue on the lower levels of this racket. Okay, it's the higher levels, the administrators, the DAs, hugely the DAs, and going up the state. Okay, so that is really who is receiving the larger paychecks, the bonuses, whatever, on a significant level, where they don't care. They are only like case managers, and Sylvia, I know that you've talked about this, are, you know, abused, and that's not, you know, we are here for everybody. Okay, this is not a cut and dry situation and issue that we're talking about. There is abuse. The administrators, then, you know, you have good people coming in, good mothers coming in wanting to help these situations, and then they are literally abused and berated for quotas. Okay, so that's a big thing, that we should not have quotas in child trafficking. I mean, child services. Sorry, we should not have quotas. We should not have quotas or incentives in that. Now, yes, the lower level incentives are given bonuses for staying overnight with a troubled child. Sylvia knows they're given, you know, bonuses for this, that, and the other thing, right? And they're also given training. So you don't have to have any credentials actually to go into it. I mean, not any, you know, with all due respect, you know, you can look into that, but you have to have very minimal credentials to go into this. And then how they justify that is, oh, we give them training. Well, then when you go into court, then if they're not going along, it works for them. All the training's, you know, sufficient enough. It's wonderful when the workers are going along with the state. But the second the workers start to speak up against the state with their training, then all of a sudden these are just, you know, workers, you know, these are just, they just have training. What do they know? You know, and those people are actually the only people that have hands-on, firsthand experience of these families and children together. The people that are making these decisions over the future, like, do we understand these are children? They have an entire future ahead of them, and they have rights. They have rights. Like, we have done, and National Center has made this whole thing for 40 years about children's rights, when we aren't actually giving children any rights. We're not acknowledging. We're treating them like animals at this point. When you're rehoming and adopting and doing this and putting websites up of foster children, and you're having runway shows and events where the foster children have to, in 10 minutes, come out, or in that 5-minute walk, come out in front of people, adults sitting in the audience looking at these children to see, like, products, to see if they want to take them in. And then they'll take them for 6 months or so and say, oh, it wasn't working out. And this child is left on the bench. Okay, this child is put back in a foster prison. I have seen children come in and say, you know, like, literally, I don't have the words for it right now. I have seen young African American boys come in and be so distraught, y'all, so distraught, saying, I have to stand on between these two red pieces of tape in my foster home. I can't go do this. I just want a birthday outside. I have an aunt down here. I have an uncle. They have a mansion even. They have, you know, they're well off. Like, these are good people. Please let me go. And I've seen literal workers just going, I know. We're going to take you back now. Oh, you know, these teens, they get out of control. I mean, it is so depraved. And the fact, this is a God complex issue. This is a narcissistic issue. It is groomed into existence. We're not saying people start out like this, but you get into the system, you are groomed into the system. And then, like we just expressed, the foster parents are coming in good and being groomed by the social workers. You know, I am very fortunate to have a great relationship with my foster, you know, caregiver at this point, and she's been amazing. And that's a gift that is really unheard of in this, as we see daily, and I post daily on my Twitter. We are having foster parents and case managers and law enforcement and school board members and commission members and donors to politicians being arrested for child exploitation, for child abuse, for pedophilia. You know, I think that it's really unfortunate. It's really heartbreaking to see the American people take the bait of, you know, if I'm a pedophile, do you think that I'm gonna, like, of course I'm gonna be like, oh, pedophilia,
Right.
oh no, of course I'm gonna mock it, of course I am. And the fact that we're all taking the bait of it, like, I really, that's where you lose me, guys. I'm out on that one.
There's a cognitive dissonance going on big time. We have KK joining us, the co-founder of Rescue the Fosters. KK, how are you?
KK!
I'm all right. How are you?
She's all like down low. Hey, I'm all right. We're all happy and jumping off the walls, but good to see you, KK. Thanks for joining us. Were you trying to join under someone else's name a few minutes ago?
No.
No? Okay. I don't know. Maybe someone's tried to call in already. We are going to do some call-ins here in a little bit. Sylvia, we want to play a recording that she did. She went undercover, guys. She was actually still working and got some interesting conversation from these people. So you get an inside the walls look. You get that fly on the wall look and sound to see what actually goes on behind the scenes when a case manager actually cares about the kids that she was, you know, representing. But her superiors didn't really care all that much, it didn't seem like. So Sylvia, you want to touch on that right now?
And if you're a caseworker, you can come out and do good too. Please, you're not alone.
You can do good.
Sorry, I had to take that moment to plug that, because that is crucial. Like, we know what's going on for you all. Come out and let's get aligned. You will have a job in the future. You won't lose your livelihood. I know that's a big thing that's inhibiting a lot of these people from coming out. And I see it all the time in all the different arenas that I speak in or that I experience, that people know that this is broken and they just don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, no, so you're right, Megan. I started recording our meetings because the way the system is, it's really difficult to explain, but they will tell you to do something and then they'll tell you, oh, I didn't tell you to do that. So you're like, in our director, and you'll hear her on this recording, her name is Jackie Jordan and my supervisor was Emery Walker. But what they would do is they would constantly, like, it's almost like a salad word. Like, yeah, I told you to do that. No, I didn't tell you to do that. No, Yes, I did. No, I didn't. And we were all actually making jokes of how we needed to record her because she would say she didn't tell us something to do, or she would tell us something to do. And I actually started recording them because I was afraid something was going to happen to a child and they were going to blame me. I did, when I started recording them, I did not know about a whistleblower. I did not know about coming forward about this. I was actually trying to cover my back. And that was on a case that I had that really was the straw for me. And that was a teenager had told me that a foster parent was drinking and driving with him in the car. And he didn't feel comfortable in the home and he wanted to be moved. And so I was the type of person that would always research what the kids told me. So if they said the foster parents drinking and driving, I would say, okay, so tell me how that happened, or, give me some more information. But when I reported it, and this is another thing that I learned, and this is for case managers out there, if you're in the industry, what I learned was that if I just verbally told them, they would not follow up on it. But if I put it in writing, they would follow up on it. So what I did was I sent an email, and I immediately get a call from my director, and that's basically like, why'd you put this in writing? So they told me not to call it in to CPS. So the procedure, just so everyone is aware, is that when a child makes an allegation like that, you have to make a CPS report. Then an investigator comes out, they speak to the child, they speak to the foster parent, they investigate. You are supposed to remove the child from the home at the very beginning. They do the investigation and then determine if the home should stay open or not. But if you have too many homes that are closing, that can be detrimental to the placement agency. So they don't want investigations, homes closing, things like that. So on the recording, I called it. I didn't because I knew they were going to retaliate against me. And this is another thing for case managers. If you want to come forward, you can contact me. We'll help you come forward because case managers are retaliated against. So I go into this meeting, and that's the recording that Gino's going to play.
Before we get into that, I just want a couple shout outs. Our good friend Lauren, Indiana Advocate, is in the chat. Good to see you, Lauren. Lauren was on our show a few weeks ago on Rescue the Fosters. Also, our good friends Mark and Terry Stemmen, who I co-host a show with on Tuesday nights called Let Our Children Go. They are the founders of Let Our Children Go and h3fc.com. Check them out. All these people that we're shouting out have either been affected by the system or advocates for a better way. Hashtag better way. See how I threw that in there, Megan?
I love it. I also want to shout out John Karafi with TGI Now podcast. You can find that on Facebook. Also, Amanda Decodes, another mom and great voice in just general, but now involved in the movement with her own situation. So I hope also people start to realize that this is happening to everyone in one form or another, only getting more rampant. That's why we have the urgency that we do.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of folks out there. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and play this. It's about 4 minutes long. We will remain on the screen while this plays, but let me just fast forward because it's going to start. Hold on 1 second. Fast forward just a little bit.
That's me.
Sylvia, if you need to commentate during this, go ahead.
I'll wait till you pause it.
Did you get this board order? This has already been reported properly that y'all come to our home?
Who reported it?
Who reported it to who? The Zachary reported it to y'all.
But who reported it to CPS?
Tina.
Defects reported to defects.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to her about. If it was reported to you, defects and CASA, y'all were mandated to report it, obligated to report that when it was reported to you.
So then why didn't we report it? This is why I'm so confused.
I ain't answer no text.
Emery,
That was
You and I had this conversation.
I know, but so then you come back and say, "This is why I
But
can't work
that's why.
here."
Okay. Wait till Jackie comes back and say.
I'm not
But-
going to say that because you know that's just kind of
But that's why we removed Zach and Atavia from the home because we were waiting for the
But Emery,
CPS
do you
report to
really
come
feel
in.
comfortable putting another kid in our house? Honestly, do you feel comfortable? What if she's in a? What if she is in the? What if she has another kid in the car and she's drinking and driving and gets in a wreck?
I don't think she'll do that because it's been brought to light. Let's say she did it a million times in the past. I don't think she'll do that at this point now because when I spoke to her, she knows her job is on the line.
I know,
Ms.
but
Brown doesn't want to lose her job, not because of
I understand
not because of
that.
the CPS case. So if you understand that, you know she has incentive not to.
But we don't know what the future is going to hold.
And I don't. Have you been around Ms. Brown and know her to be like drunk all the time? Like
I mean, I've heard of different comments. Carolyn Berkshire said she was talking to her and she was talking about how she had to get her beer. Brendan told me how she got
Anything else, I'm
beer.
gonna eat this pearl away, huh?
see, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I just don't understand why we didn't call it in the beginning if it is a CPS report.
I don't think it's a CPS report, but she denied it. He denied it.
But it's not us to determine that.
What if? Did she call in?
No,
You called in. He made the report to you too.
okay. All right, I'm just saying because what if she does drink and drive and with another kid in the car?
I could see if it was something frequently.
But how do we know it's not frequently?
How
Brendan
do you
told
know it
me
is?
because Brendan told me. Brendan told Sherry Bowen. Jordan told Sherry Bowen.
All these three
Zach.
was in your car when that was revealed. Am I right?
No, it was different times.
Okay. Well, see, this is what you just bring up.
No, I brought it up before.
We didn't.
Yes, I did. I was talking to
Mr.
you
Brown drinking?
on the phone, and you said I was standing in there with Dossie, and you said, "Why is Brendan even in this conversation?"
That's what I asked. I remember that because you said because it came up and he was in the car with you. That's why I just said the same thing.
Yeah, and I told you about that.
That was the same time. That's what I just said. Why was Brendan in the car with you when you were talking to Zach about?
But that's not
what
the
happened?
issue. There's been more than one person that has said it, and we're worried about why Brendan is saying something when it should be.
Because I know the characteristics of these two guys.
Wait a minute.
Okay, so you get the gist of what goes on behind the scenes sometimes when you have someone that actually cares about children. Sylvia, you want to elaborate on what we just heard?
Yeah, so if you listen to her, well, I know the characteristic of these children. She was implying that we shouldn't believe them because they are in their file, they are considered liars, and this is how they control the narrative. They control it by saying that the foster youth is a liar and we shouldn't listen to them. But if you hear this recording, and we only played the first part of it, this recording is 15 minutes long, but I want people to understand that they are not beating around the bush. They are straightforward in your face. They are covering for the foster parent. And the foster parent in this case had admitted to drinking and driving. This was part of the case. And we had a recording where it had blocked out the children's name, and I think that got confused. So I didn't want to continue playing it. But this is something that people need to understand, is that the children are talking. They are telling case managers. And when a case manager goes to a director, the director is saying, this is a child that has behavioral issues, and we don't listen to the child. And the foster parent usually looks really good on paper. The majority of the foster parents were either a nurse, they worked for the CDC. They look good on paper, but outside of paper, they're not that great. But we really need to start listening to our kids. and hearing them and researching.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that I want to point out. It segues into that, and we heard that in the recording just now regarding court mandated reporters. And there is an issue with court mandated reporters, that they are making everyone now court mandated reporters. So the schools are calling, the hospitals are calling, your neighbors calling, you know, these social justice warriors. But on the flip side of it, when there actually are issues like we just witnessed and everything, they aren't held to that obligation. They don't feel that, like, being a court mandated reporter and my duty to report this is like null and void in these situations. And children are reporting abuse and are neglected and ignored. Excuse me, I can speak from firsthand experience. And it's devastating. It's mortifying to see children gaslit and told that they're children, they don't understand. You know, it's depraved. It's actually inhumane, the way that they're treated. But I wanted to bring up that court mandate reporter issue there, excuse me. But also what I want to bring up about from that recording is also this energy and this environment of gossip. It's very in these CPS offices and everything. It is literally like the inmates are running the asylum. There are no professionals in there. There are no law enforcement in there. There is nothing. This is all subjective, and it gets to this high school mean girl, you know, subjective. They live like this. They do this. We don't like it. We're gonna twist that. She was emotional, or he was emotional. This father came in and got emotional. Well, that shows that there's something wrong with them. When, you know, again, I don't know what this virtue signaling is, but, you know, these people are far from perfect. And, you know, I want to be respectful to everybody, because I do know that people go into it. But on these lower levels, that is the issue. I did speak earlier about the abuse that does happen in certain situations, but also we have to understand that these low level workers that are getting involved, or supervisors or whatever, a lot of them know what they're doing. A lot of them are, again, it's a complex. It's a very narcissistic complex. They gaslight, as we just witnessed. They're gaslighting even children, and it's horrific. It's absolutely depraved. I don't have other words than that. And to actually witness that this is how children's futures and families' futures are being decided, especially, again, they go into the court, their private business, they testify on behalf of the state. They say what the state wants. They go in, and the way that they word things and the tone and, you know, everything. We see this across the country. It is very much, again, against the biological family. They're grooming the foster parents while they're doing it, saying, you can go to this closet, you can get this incentive for this child's service this month, you know, and also, what Sylvia brought up was the diagnosis. We're taking children from their families, from their friends, from their environments that they know as children. These are not adults. These are children, innocent children. We're putting them in strangers' homes. We're having strangers, all different. It's never this. They don't keep consistency for the children, where, you know, this is a horrific situation, but we're going to keep the same worker with you for the year. We're going to keep the same person transporting. We will be consistent. We will do this for stability. We are the example, right? Where they're supposed to be the example. They don't offer services. There's not an energy of, okay, you know what? We are here for you. We are here for you. Let's do this. You know, you struggled with substance, you had a falling out, or even especially if you report abuse, that's used against you. The abusers will most likely get custody of your children through the system. And that then goes into the whole pedophilia issue.
Let's sit right on that word, Megan, because you've hit it. Abuse. The very entity that proclaims they are the savior of children in abuse, are they themselves the abusers through their vendors and whatnot? When you've got pediatricians calling CPS because a parent wants a second opinion on something. And we've got plenty of these stories over just the last 15 years. When you have got clinics, whether it is a mental health clinic or a therapist, say, hey, there's something more going on with this child, and the parents don't want to put them on the meds that I want to put them on, call CPS. The entire system is gamed against you. And if you think this can't happen to you, please look at this panel. Please look at the beautiful people that are here. MeghanWalsh, who has a name. Most of us are just, hey, average Joe American. We have someone with a name. And this happened to her. This happens to doctors. This happens to lawyers. Anyone who stands up and fight, your life is gone. They will ridicule you. They will call you every name. If they can tank your business, if they can take away your means of making a living, they certainly will. What I want you to remember is what you know, because what we all know is actually quite a lot. But in this chaotic time, we can forget. When you've got foster parents who say, I don't want to listen to this two-week-old, or I'm sorry, this 2-year-old crying every night for its mom, and then all of a sudden they're on antidepressants and God knows how many other psychotropic drugs. The pharmaceutical company under Reagan, this is why I say I don't want to hear red or blue. This is now all about we the people and our constitutional rights to our children, to our person, place, and things, 4th and 14th Amendment. CPS and the social secular federalization of protection of children have robbed us of our constitutional right. First, second, you're not allowed to speak if you're a parent, and CPS has your child. They'll twist everything you say up. You're not allowed to own your guns when you're in a CPS or a family law deal, custody. So your first and your second, your 4th and 14th are absolutely taken away from you and your children, which is our protection to our person, place, and things, not to be molested by government. And all of this is being done by a social secular entity that has zero power until they reach into the DA's office and get an ADA as their lawyer to go and prosecute you in an unconstitutional, lowest common law that we have. This is traffic court. And yet we're talking about children. So if you're scratching your head and going, well, wait a minute, how can this not be a constitutional court? And they're grabbing children. Shouldn't that be like in the highest court? And the standard is, unless there is a severe risk or danger of death, you may not remove a child from its home. And yet this is what CPS has done in bolstering foster care. Here in California, we have illegal immigrants that are given a place to live. Their utilities are paid. They're given a car. They're given every service known to man to be the babysitters as foster care for these children. And no, they don't speak English. How do I know this? LA County case. This is what they're doing. They keep pushing that children need to be protected, and yet CPS and the county and states of our nation do everything opposite that a child actually needs and requires. When you ask, well, why are they doing this? Why is this so big? Money, money, and money. Once you have money, you can gain power. Once you have power, you can have control. And who do they want to control currently? Joe Biden just said it less than 3 days ago, or two days ago. I'm so sorry. It takes a village to raise a child. They're talking about them. The club is the village. UN Agenda 2050 says you'll have to get a license to even become pregnant. You'll have to go through a board to even be approved to raise that child on your own. They want this so that it's almost like a Logan's Run kind of scenario. You know, talk about going all the way back to the 70s in a really bad sci-fi movie. We'll be their breeders and have children, but we won't be allowed to raise them. CPS is the breaker of traditional family values, no matter if you're one of the two genders, if you're mom or dad, whether you are Muslim, Hindu, it doesn't matter. They're going after everyone at this point, and especially people who do not want to toe the line on any given social secular topic, because that's all these people are. Social secular kidnappers. Hell is for children abusers. Now, does that mean that a child who is being beaten shows up at a children's hospital? Of course, that child needs to have that entire scenario investigated. We see children in foster care who show up with broken arms and broken legs, and the parents are not told, and visitation is cut off, so you have no idea. And then you see your child maybe 6 weeks later, and you're completely out of your mind, not knowing what's going on with your child. And your kid shows up and tells you, oh yeah, I broke my leg, but I'm not supposed to tell you about that. The trauma they put on these children are very adult scenarios and then tell them to shut up. And then they tell the courts these children are liars. They do the exact same thing for the parents. Oh,
Yep.
mom said she absolutely hates mother-in-law and that she should be hanging from a, not what the mother said at all. The mother would tell the caseworker, look, this mother-in-law of mine has got it out for me. If she could hang me from her front tree, she certainly would. It is a psyop on top of a psyop, and we, the American people, are paying billions of dollars a year just for our nationwide. We're not even talking border. When I start talking border, we're almost over $1 trillion annually just using Border Patrol and taking them in and then using to distribute them all throughout our country. And then you look at the medical. They're getting a bite out of this apple any way that they can. And our system is about to break and buckle underneath it. It's so important for you guys to realize it doesn't matter if you know somebody that was a good foster parent. We're not talking about the good people. They are rare, sadly. We're not talking about the good caseworkers or the people who get fired who truly stand up for a child. We're talking about the 90% of this social secular entity being rotten to the core. And you do not have to submit to them. You do not. They are a social secular entity, and you simply tell them, I am not going to contract with you. If you believe I have broken the law, call the sheriff, because the sheriff and his deputies or her deputies are the only true constitutional power in your county, even over your governor, whether they are blue or red. Know your rights.
Law enforcement is corrupt as well.
Very true. Very true.
Because that's another aspect that we need to understand, that sheriffs are actually the ones that do have the power, supposed to be held to the Constitution, and they're the ones that are supposed to come in as peacekeepers and protectors of the public.
Right.
They aren't the sheriffs of the elites and the administrators. They're the sheriffs of the people and the community. And when they're standing by and aiding these kidnappings and these assaults, actually even creating more trauma for the families involved and the children especially involved, we are at a very terrifying point right now with that, in that regard. And we need sheriffs to be stepping up and saying, you know what, we follow the Constitution. We're smarter than this. We don't know what the heck you guys are doing. You're messing with our community. You're destroying our children. You're bringing in, but you know what? It works for them. And that's what we have to start understanding, is these foster, you know, well, I call them foster prisons, foster homes, foster prisons. We're taking good children from loving homes because that's easy. That's the adoption racket. Okay. That's the avenue that the child goes down towards being adopted out. And then you go down the avenue of foster care and foster homes, where these children, like we've said, are given diagnoses. And the main one now actually is adjustment disorder. Okay, you just took them out of their freaking home and from their parents, and you're gonna label them with adjustment disorder so that you can prescribe them medication, which is money that brings in funding for you. And then that medication is going to come from the local pharmacy that has contracted with you as well. And that doctor that makes the diagnosis is contracted with them as well. And then like Pam and Sylvia have said, that also goes for the parents involved in this. So you are breaking people, breaking up families, and then profiting off of all the services that you say you are providing to help them, when really it is a daily harassment. That's another thing, is these are hardworking families. These are average families of our nation. And we are all trying to pay gas and food and everything right now. Poverty does not equate to neglect. It has no correlation whatsoever, actually. And as someone brought up in the elite, I wish I was brought up in a normal middle class or even a poorer family, to be honest, because that's, again, a whole nother tangent on what that is for children and what those environments are. Also, if your parents are, or you go through and has their own journey. This is a very weird, depraved, satanic, meaning the obsession with perfectionism, and Hillary Clinton, Margaret Sanger, Dr. Kinsley, bringing in this, notion of the state raising your children. The way that they rebranded that for the public, because they can't say that, is again, best interest. It takes a village, okay? It takes a village. No, it does not. It takes a family supported by a community that has integrity. Okay, this is what that is. And it's not the best interest. If we listen to this, the best interest of the children, why do you have such target on our children? Why is it always just about the children? What about the people that made those children? What about the people that love those children and care about those children? It should be about them as well. Do we not care about humanity? I mean, these social justice warriors are talking all day about victims and plights and movements and everything. But then when it comes to this, it's, oh, we're going to shame, we're going to judge, we're going to go against the victims that are actually coming out and speaking out. And we're kind of even going to get off on, oh, they're risking their life, oh, something might happen to them, oh, they're coming out. Like, this is very bizarre. It's very depraved. And society needs to navigate that and shift that for themselves in many more contexts than just this here. I will say that. Indifference and judgment are two of the most serious sins in the eyes of God, if that matters to you.
And
Yeah,
please,
Megan, before
please
you
donate.
oh, sorry.
Please
Go ahead,
donate.
Pam.
We need the help. We need the resources. What we're going up against, there's a reason we have used the MEGHAN-LODON. This is massive, guys. This is almost 1/6 of the world of our nation's economy is run on the backs of children. And the more you realize that if money is your thing, this ought to enrage you, because you're paying higher taxes, even the recession belt, the Fed, the entire thing. This is all tied up within grabbing your wealth to pay for their social secularism is actually harming children. So please, we are all working so hard, and none of us charge our clients. We never have, we never will. We are in this to do right. We are not patriots. We're patriot warriors trying to save our children. So please reach out. If you can only give a prayer, please, we ask that you pray for us all. We need every little bit that we can get. If you can give a little bit or give a lot, please know that we are so thankful. We have huge, huge things that are coming up that unfortunately are all going to cost money that we can no longer just absorb in our own small little monthly salaries that we have from our own little hard work. So please
donate. And I think people aren't really realizing too, again, this is not about me. This is not about just me and just my children. My case also, or my situation, what my father is doing, I should say, it has nothing to do with that. What my father is doing is setting precedent for other families behind closed doors to be taking children more easily, deemed on any potential adverse event deemed or something like that. It's very subjective, and we should all be terrified about that. It reminds me of Jussie Smollett trying to get the lynching law passed. There are these false flags that then are going to affect the rest of the country. And I think that that's a big thing that people don't realize about what my father has also participated in for over 40 years is fear mongering the public, predictive programming, virtue signaling to get you to beg for things that ultimately benefit them and equate to, further control on all of us, unfortunately.
I don't want to skip over what you guys were saying about the sheriffs earlier. And Megan, I do want you to introduce your friend here in a second. But we were talking about the sheriffs. And we had Sheriff Richard Mack on about 3 months ago here on Rescue the Fosters. And Sheriff Mack, if you don't know, he started it's called Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. And what happened was in the 90s, he's a sheriff in Pima County in Arizona, and he was in charge of, I think, 9 or 11, I can't remember, schools in the district to report abuse. So he would train, teachers to look for abuse and all this stuff. So I asked him, I said, was it rampant back then? He says, no, it was very rare. He says, in most of the cases, we just kind of washed them out. It wasn't anything. And I says, well, what happened if you did have to have a removal? And he said this, I thought this was very interesting. He says, we would show up with the CPS officers. He says, and we, as the sheriff, would not allow the child to be taken. It would be the abusive parent if there was
Right.
evidence of abuse. Now, that's common sense. I don't know if you can't see that that's common sense, then you're blind. And I thought that's 100% brilliant. That's just absolutely 100% what's going on right now. They're taking kids because there's an incentive. There wasn't an incentive in the early 90s. That came after, it's ASFA, right? In what, 96, 97? Yeah. So if you know that, and then, this guy, he's actually the one that I think he went against the Clintons in the Supreme Court case for the 10th Amendment, and he actually won. And he came on, he says, yeah, and I lived to tell about it, which I thought was pretty funny. but he was a great guy, and he started this great organization, and we need more sheriffs to join that organization and stand up for those. Look, you take an oath to the Constitution, and you take an oath to serve and protect those in your jurisdiction. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to terrorize the people.
Find another job. And if you can't do that, find another job. It's okay.
Exactly.
That's okay.
It is
people
okay.
are scratching their heads going, what do you mean this isn't constitutional? Read your Constitution. I guarantee you, you're not going to see anything in there about a right to health care. You're not going to see anything in there about for a government entity to come in and take your personal belongings, which currently children are under the 4th and 14th Amendment as your property, which is why, the state loves taking them, playing status parenti, which is there's a better word for it, but I'm going to screw it up because my poor tongue is tired. And literally, they have traded on our nation's future, our future being our children. Now, if you're being abused inside of a home, it's the new stepdad, it's the new stepmom, it's the nanny, whatever. We all know what real abuse is. So what does it tell you when families have their children taken for having 2 garbage bags by the front door? It was raining outside. Mom was going to take it out in the morning when she went out to get in her car to go to work. What does it tell you when people can be removed from you, your own children, your own parents, even your own grandparents? No, with a mandate. All of this is on the lowest common law that the Fed is using. They can't use a constitutional principle because they wouldn't be able to function. They would not make any money. So if you're wondering why it is at the lowest common law, it's because this is unconstitutional and they know it. Why don't our sheriffs know that? Why aren't they standing up? There are many sheriffs that completely are in bed with CPS. There are other sheriffs that are not. If you do not have a constitutional sheriff, it is time to change your sheriff. How do you do that? You go to your county supervisor board and you demand by at least 10% signatures of the people in your county that you want removal for unconstitutional duties and oaths. They are to oath themselves to we the people and our constitutional protections and nothing more. The minute politics and money became part of our sheriffs, our LEOs, our mayors, our schools, our medical, you can see what happens. It then goes against we, the people. If this doesn't prove Atlas Shrugged and Right, if this doesn't prove 1984, if this isn't Alex Huxley's Brave New World, I don't know what it is. We are living all 3 right now. And it's time for us to wake up and realize they are going after the easiest prey they possibly can, our children, because they think we'll comply. I am here to tell you, it is time to stop complying and it's time to start standing. Take a stand on your own constitutional rights. Do not let these people buffalo you into falling into their social secular bullshit.
Amen to that. So, Megan, you want to introduce our guest?
Yeah, absolutely. We have joined us John Karafi, a dear friend of mine in Indian River County as well. He's got an amazing podcast with some of his buddies. It's called TGI Now Podcast on Facebook. You can please everyone go over and check it out. He's really they've got great conversation going on over there. They're really revealing a lot, and John has been very courageous amongst as well as his group and surrounding colleagues to really stick to the truth about this CPS situation behind backing me. In my situation, we'll just leave it at that for now. But, he's really been a big voice that has taken a lot of courage to come forward and really stand out. He actually was a fundraiser. He was in charge of fundraising, for the local foster care home, Hibiscus House in Indian River County, which actually used my mother, and he can probably expand, to be that face for fundraising and for credibility to get the funding to start this local foster care home, which is actually one of the things that I started, getting in trouble for, was asking about that. I had friends that had mutual acquaintances that had worked there, and they actually ended up having to quit because they were seeing little girls leave in the morning and coming back with wads of cash. And John will definitely expand on that, but he was definitely involved in that, and then had seen, kind of what was going on. He moved over to the commission, and has raised countless dollars for our county and our commission. He's also been very outspoken regarding school board issues, and showed up, also regarding the sheriff, Eric Flowers here, that my father campaigned for and got into office. We all were, Eric Flowers, our sheriff, is our age. He's amongst our peers, and was kind of groomed into very groomed into this position that he holds with the previous sheriff, as well as my father, who they go back 40 years together. And so what I wanted to say here is that, it's very ironic that he's our buddy. We've got his number and our cell phones, all of this when we're going along with it. But as soon as we start speaking up, then it's the silent treatment and retaliation against us. And that's also something that does happen, tonight, John, just so you know, I know you just joined us, but we're just generally speaking about the CPS issues and things like that. But he's witnessed what is going on. It's again, as an outsider and all that, getting involved and then being retaliated against, that is something that CPS does. And we can't, if we speak out about, if we acknowledge it, then that takes that power away from them, as these people work in the shadows. And that's how it is in the courtrooms, behind the scenes within the office, as we heard Sylvia's recording. All of this is done in the shadows. And what I wanted to say earlier was about the funding that Pam was just talking about a second ago, before I give it over to John for a little bit, is that this is an issue of privatization of things. Okay. And my father is a big proponent for privatized. And when sheriffs became privatized, that's a very big concern. When CPS is privatized, that's a huge concern. Anything that's supposed to have an equality to it and an unbiased and a void of corruption should never be privatized. And that's a huge push across our country right now for things to be privatized, which is actually very dangerous to us.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for having me here, guys. Appreciate that.
Oh, we appreciate it.
Everybody can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear, 5 by 5.
Perfect,
good to meet you.
Perfect. So you too. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I just want to support Meghan, obviously. A little bit, up to my neck deep in some of the stuff that's going on with her and her situation. Yes, I was part of Hibiscus Children's Center. I helped raise the money to build this facility in Vero Beach, Florida. Come to realize that full circle, it took me back to where I am sitting here with you guys on this podcast right now, and having my own podcast to speak the truth about what I've seen. Meghan did mention her mother was used to help raise the money to build this facility. And at the time, I didn't realize what was really happening until I come back full circle and see what they were doing with the kids there. The kids weren't going back to their homes. They weren't being reunited with their families. I witnessed it. I seen it. I seen that the goal was supposed to do that, but it wasn't happening. And at that point, after I raised the money to build this place, thinking I was building a place for kids to be safe, I realized that something wasn't right, and I just abruptly left that organization. But then looking back and seeing that Meghan's mother was involved, and then fast forwarding to my involvement with the Salvation Army 10 years later and having John Walsh involved with the Salvation Army and seeing some things I saw there. Once my podcast started, that was when I said, I need to reach out to Meghan. This is our hometown. This is where we live. It's Vero Beach, Florida, Indian River County. Why is this not national news? What is going on? Why is this happening? And so I invited Meghan onto the podcast. We did 2 parts. We were going to do 3. The third turned out to be what happened, this time last year, and the child being taken 5 days old, being taken from her, basically from her chest out the door into a law enforcement vehicle off to the races we go. And so at that point, then I was really involved, and then I ended up having to do some things that I had to go through. But at the same time, the podcast really helped spread the awareness locally in Vero Beach, not as much as I would like, but it did make a difference. And so at that point, I saw what was happening, and I let Meghan know this, and I saw, and again, you look back, and when you're sound asleep, like I was, live in that world and thinking you're doing something for the right reasons, and you're raising money to help kids in your backyard. And then you fast forward to today and you wake up to the fact that everything's corrupted. Like you said, everything is compromised from the top to the bottom. I went to the school board meetings here in town. I ended up getting fired from my job for speaking out against the mental health of the children when they were starting to make them wear the muzzles and force them to social isolate. I saw my son go through social isolation. I was targeted for that. I was fired from my job, targeted for a lot of things. So you see what happens. You become an advocate for the community. You become a voice for the community, which I was, raising millions of dollars for to help people in Indian River County, and then to become the enemy of the narrative after all these years of being part of the narrative, but not realizing that you were. So it kind of makes you sick to your stomach a little bit, especially what I witnessed, what happened to Meghan, and I saw it firsthand. I was the one there that took the video, and it was sad, and it was disgusting. And I have post-traumatic stress from it because of the fact that I saw what they were doing, and I saw that they were only motivated by one thing, and that was the judge making an order to take the child with no evidence whatsoever. And that's what really just disturbed me at that point. And then I haven't stopped speaking about it since. We have about 100,000 subscribers on our podcast. Awesome. We have a lot of followers on our Facebook page, which gets suppressed, so nothing gets out. We're going to have Meghan back on the podcast here real soon, hopefully this week, and then we'll keep spreading the word and letting people know that not this isn't about Meghan, like she said. And I knew that, but I knew that what was happening in our own backyard to somebody that's been in this town her whole life, and me being in the town my whole life and seeing it happening, I just knew I had to say something. I couldn't just sit on my hands and not do anything. Same with the school board stuff. And so, all this stuff is all coming full circle. We're being called to purpose is what I see, that we're all being called to purpose for a reason, to help spread this word and to be the hand of God, because I truly believe I was the hand of God. When I was holding that video and seeing what was happening, I was definitely, that's all I could think of, was like, I'm standing here holding a camera, and that's it. And I'm watching and I'm videotaping, and I'm going to document this for the whole world to see. And that was it. And that's where
John,
we're at.
I can tell you this, we are very thankful for that video. And in fact, that video, I've used a portion on TikTok. That was the first video I ever made on TikTok. It has over 700,000 views to date, and it's because of you holding that camera. Yeah, so I appreciate it.
Yeah,
it's had a very, I got to tell you, on TikTok, I don't know how many comments. I've lost track of comments and likes and all that stuff and saves. But that's because you stood there and did what you felt the Lord was telling you to do. And I mean, thank God for it. Just appreciate that, man.
Well, and the craziest part about it is that I wasn't even supposed to be there. We didn't have anything scheduled. It was just a matter of somebody texting me and saying ETA was all it was. It was an ETA. And I text back and I said, ETA? I said, oh shit, am I supposed to be somewhere today? And I was like, oh crap. And so then I called that person. They were like, hey, you got to get over here. We're going to do a podcast. Meghan had the baby. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, okay. And I just got in my car and I drove over there, not thinking anything about it, not even realizing that what I was doing and what ended up happening. And I just realized it. And being awake and aware and being clear, you realize it in the moment that I'm like, oh shit, this is what I'm here to do. This is why this is why that text was sent to me, even though I wasn't planning on being there. And then, some things happened. I ended up having to go through some court battles and all that shit afterwards. But it doesn't matter, because I know I was protected, and I know we're all protected, and I know that we have that armor of God on. And so it's nothing to fear. There's no fear in worrying about what we're going to say next and what we're going to do, because this is it. We don't have any other choice. If we don't have a country and a future with our children, then we have nothing left. There's no entrepreneurship. There's no money. There's no nothing. There's all just straight up, just we got to save the children. And I know this is what this is all about. The spiritual war is about saving the kids.
Yeah, and you know, I want to thank you so much, Don, for that. And you know, I could go on for hours about my gratitude towards you and just what an incredible person I think that you are. But you know, I want people to realize that this is what does happen, you know, and we all live in small towns, if you're not in a city, obviously, or whatnot, but you know, we live in communities, right? And you think that, like he said, you're doing what is right. I was raised as John Walsh's daughter. I thought this is what we did for a living. This was who we were. And then you get this, you know, retaliation back, this narrative, you're the bad guy, you're the evil one. And then to literally watch your community around you cower and go away from you and really just start drinking the Kool-Aid and going along with it because that's what better serves them. And this is happening all around the country is why I say this. This is, again, not about me. This is a generalization because it is happening across our country where the people of the community are not supporting these families. Again, they tell themselves, oh, you know, there must be more to the story that we don't know. Well, I know stuff about every single person in my town that, you know, could be like, you know, that could be considered, you know, something crazy, including the sheriff, you know, cheating on his wife with an 8-year-old child. And, you know, I mean, it's just been a debauchery, to be honest, that happens in these situations across our country. And, you know, I actually was in all of these Facebook groups and everything when I was advocating before it happened to me. And I had to actually leave them because I need to focus on the solution. We have countless, endless, infinite testimonies. And honestly, they all sound the same. They're all horrific. And they all have common denominators. This is a playbook at this point. And like Gino said in the beginning of this, you know, this is with grandparents or people that you don't like or exes or any of that are being able to weaponize this system and use the children as the injury, you know, as the collateral. And that should be disgusting to everybody. And that is not law. Law.
The amount of messages that we got after that video was absurd. I mean, I was getting story after story. Oh, this has happened to me. This is, and I was just, it was heart wrenching. I was just like, wow, because we had like 500 followers on our Facebook page. We went to like 15,000 overnight. It was like ridiculous. And the messages people were sending was just unbelievable. When we tried to help a lot of those people, we sent them information, we put them in contact with the right people. But it was just overwhelming, and that's when I realized, I was like, wow, I like really shined the light on something that's gonna take the world by storm at some point, and the truth is going to come out, and someday, you know, Megan, I know in my heart, and I know that she's going to be vindicated, and she's going to get her kids back, and I know that for a fact, and I know that is going to happen, and someday that's going to be a big celebration, and that's going to make a snowball effect of all these other people that have been done wrong, and they're going to get their children back, and people are going to be exposed, and they're not going to be able to walk down the street when people find out what they've been doing to these kids. And that's what I keep in my heart all the time, is like, when people find out what they've been doing to these kids, that's when the world will come together, because that's the only way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hey,
Megan, real quick, Megan. American Amy and Acura Amanda had sent the link to that video on YouTube. Did you want to play some of that from the body cam? Or do you want to hold off?
I think we'll just hold up. People can look that up and everything. I have to be very careful. Another thing
I'll drop the link.
Another thing that they do is put gag orders on all of the parents. So you are not allowed to talk about it. That should be very concerning. Criminals can talk about their cases, but parents
I have another video too. And Megan, when you come on the podcast Tuesday, I have another video that's a video I took, because remember, in the beginning, I took a video of myself and somebody else at the window talking and trying to talk to police and all that, and talk them out of what they were doing. And that's the video I have. But then I stopped the video. And then when Megan went to the window, I actually went live. God told me to go live, because the video wouldn't have been powerful, because I would have made a video and we could have put it out. And maybe people would have saw it. When I went live, that's what I went live, and that was like, oh, that made a big difference, because now people were watching it in real time. So that's when the emotions of people seeing it were like, wow, that's crazy. Like, what the hell is happening right now? So it's not a coincidence, but that it was a live video, and that's what happened. But I'm going to put the other video out too. I'll do that on our YouTube page and the podcast. And so, Gino, you can get a piece of that, and you can put that out as your options too, and everybody else, to show that I was there. And I tried to talk to them about not doing it. I was asking them for their discernment. I was like, you guys, this is not right. And you'll see that I was really trying to talk them and understand that, like, do you not realize what you're doing? And you just see how they're just so programmed to believe that they're doing the right thing and they're doing their job, and they don't realize that that's going to come back and bite them at some day.
It will. It will. And I
will.
don't believe in karma. I don't believe in karma, but I can't think of a better word right now. So karma will bite them. I believe God's vengeance will take care of this eventually. I believe the team that he has assembled. In fact, let's give a shout out, Tony. She's still out there doing a great job modding tonight. Triano. Jack Pendergrass.
I do want to give a shout out again to American Amy. She's been amazing. She was one of the only ones to show up at court, and support me, and like boots on the ground. We don't have enough people boots on the ground. And in a little bit, in a few minutes before we end, I will go into things that you can all do in your community. This isn't bigger than you. This isn't Epstein. This isn't, yes, it ties to that, but it's the source for it, but it's not bigger than you. In other words, where you have to wait for something to be given to you or information to be handed out at someone else's discretion, which is highly illegal at this point, what they're doing in that scenario. But we will be giving information in just a little bit before we close on what people can actually do in their communities. And I do want to give a shout out to Acura Amanda. Acura Amanda is a cop watcher, podcaster, YouTuber in Palm Beach, Florida, which is one of the largest hubs in Florida for child trafficking. And she has been exposing she started with the police corruption, right, in Palm Beach, and she was going and exposing that and everything, and she does an incredible job. I mean, I don't know what motivates, I do know what motivates her every day, God does, but she's just an incredible woman out there, really courageous, really sticking to the truth and just holding people to what their job should be, and she did put up that video that they sent the link over of the ordeal, and since then, and getting involved, CPS has been showing up on her door.
Wow.
Anyone that's gotten involved,
wow.
CPS is showing up on their door.
Wow.
Yeah. Another shout out to Jack Pendergrass, our buddy Jack's out there. Maximus Disclosure, Jack. Check him out. Actually, Jack and I have been doing some shows together.
What Maximus is, please.
You have to know what
your own good.
Yes.
I like Maximus Exposure.
Jack has an amazing channel on Telegram, Maximus Disclosure. He's also on Twitter. Jack Pendergrass has really put a lot on the line to not only address these issues within family court and CPS, but to really bring forward how Maximus and Social Security is the big issue of slavery over us as the people and the masses. And it's information that every American needs to know about. We're not bringing you niche information or movements or groups or, I know there's a lot in law these days on sovereign and natural and constitutional and all this. I do want to say that the entire time and all of us here have respected the law. We have a high respect for the law and we support the law. But when it's not the law that we're working with anymore, we are also going to be that adamant in the other direction. Okay. We are also going to speak out against what that is. So this is not opinion. This is not like this might be a way around the system, or this is how we should do things, because it's been so. No, this is in our face. This is about our children. This is something that we all deal with. Everyone is connected to a child in some way, shape, or form in their life, whether it's even your friend's child. Okay. So if we care about children, and America says all day long, it's all about the children, it's all about the children. And then when we come forward and ask, I've been doing this on social media platforms, on everything for over 2 years, and we still are here going, we need more people involved. I mean, this should be a bipartisan issue. This should null and void this craziness that's taken over of every aspect of life being politicized. I don't know how trans got onto children. No correlation whatsoever for me. You know, this whole CPS issue, I mean, there are across the board many different ways that our children are being exploited and profited from. But when we have something in our face like CPS, with the stats, with the testimonies, with the science, with the proof, then we are sitting here on a fundamental level. This is not some idea that we have or a different approach to do that. We are just here to inform and give awareness to what is factually going on around each and every one of us. And we also want to provide ways that you all can get involved in your own communities and actually do something. I know people feel helpless in this. I know people feel overwhelmed, and that's what makes it easier to turn the other way.
One more shout out for our good friend Mike Pack, the Hollywood reporter. If you guys don't know who Mike is, yeah, Mike worked 25 years. We love him. Hopefully he's watching tonight. I'm sure he's out on the roads doing some work. But Mike's a great researcher, great friend.
Yeah.
Mike is the whole reason I'm even remotely related to any of this stuff. I met Mike on Twitter years ago. We became friends. We talked. He says, "Hey, can I call you, man?" He called me, and then I met Megan like 2 days later or the day later or whatever, and you know, my life changed forever. And I'm very grateful to Mike for all he does and does do for me. I consider us friends. Mike, love you, man. I hope you're watching. I hope you're proud of us. He's such a great guy. Mike's an awesome guy. Follow him on Twitter. You got to follow him on Twitter, the Hollywood Reporter. Okay, well, great segue, though.
I think. What were you gonna say? I was gonna say that you took the words out of my mouth.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was literally about to say great segue. No, I was actually going to bring up the larger issue of this. Yes, we're talking about the CPS system, but National Center for Missing Exploited Children, Epstein, a global network of child trafficking, is still unanswered tonight on our presentation. And I think that maybe, I don't know what you were going to segue into, but we should eventually get to that. But Gino,
yeah, we will. But before we do that, and that's where I was heading, but let's go down this road. I want everybody to know who Rescue the Fosters is. We do a show on Thursday nights. KK and Sylvia are the founders of Rescue the Fosters. And, you know, John, you were talking about where people can go, and they were contacting you after the video, and you were giving them great information and, you know, resources and all that. Rescue the Fosters is going to be the place to go, folks. I'm telling you right now. Okay. God has ordained this moment for these two women, and KK coming out of the system, being under the system, I should say, and Sylvia working for the system, and them together coming out, and actually Sylvia helping KK when she was younger in the system. But it's an amazing thing they're doing. And I just want the ladies to talk a little bit about what they do and how people can reach out to them, as if Sylvia isn't busy enough already. But later.
Thank you. Well, I was just about to say we should hear from the children and who have been through this themselves, and we have KK here. So I do want to just say what we do first, and then I'll give it over to KK, because KK should tell about her experience, and she should say what needs to be changed and what would have helped her being in the system. So basically what we do is we advocate for children in the foster system, and that because they don't have a voice and because they are considered liars when they do come forward. So we advocate for children first. KK has been mentoring youth that are in the foster system or out now. And then what we also do is we help parents such as Megan. We advocate for them. We want to reunite families. Families should be together. And so we advocate for families fighting CPS And then we also help foster youth that are aging out of the system. So when they age out, they're just dropped on the streets, and KK can tell you about that. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep them off the streets, and we're trying to keep them out of prisons, because it is known that foster youth end up in the prison system within 2 years of aging out. And a good reason for that is because it is their normal. They are used to being in the system, which is a structure of the prison. Like Megan was saying, these are children prisons. And so they are conditioned to live in this this structure, this environment, so that when they do age out, they end up getting, you know, they're in survival mode and they end up in prison, and they actually feel normal in prison. And that shouldn't be. They should be able to live freely without the government. And then the other thing is that once they do have kids, they're targeted because they were in the foster system. And that's the other calls we're receiving, are parents that have kids and they were in the foster system, and then when they had kids, their kids are taken, and that is the reason they're using against these parents. Well, you were raised in the foster system, so you don't know how to parent. This is wrong.
Or you were abused or any abuse, and so you shouldn't have kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. All by
KK,
design.
I love you, KK.
Should I share my testimony, or should I?
Yeah,
share it, girl. Share it.
So for me, like, I pretty much already grew up in a, you know, like a broken environment, you know, like not knowing who my family was, you know, being alone, abandoned, like neglected and things like that. So like that was my first memory. And so really I grew up in India, and my first memory was being alone, being abandoned, and just trying to find my way back home. And basically the police officer, he found me, he took me into the orphanage, and basically I just grew up already in kind of like, I wasn't in foster care yet, but it was still kind of like a, I guess, a prison type of environment, because you still had like a staff and people watch over you and feed you, take care of you. But it was a little bit, I guess the love was there a little bit, even though we were around people who we had no idea. So then I got adopted at the age of 4, and I got adopted by an American family. So that's how I got here. And, you know, there was a lot of abuse going on. And, you know, I already had like, you know, self-worth issues and things like that. And then because of the fact that I got abused, I ended up getting in foster care at the age of 15. And so, you know, time after time, like going from a broken environment and then to a stable, but then to another broken environment, it just really put a lot of toll and traumas and scars on me that I'm still having to deal with now. And, you know, it's been hard for me because I'm still in the mindset of surviving and trying not to be on a survival mode all the time. So that's kind of like the recompression of being in the system, is learning how to be an adult and learning how to not do it all by yourself, but still learning to do it by yourself. Because in a way, they condition you to, you know, you're on your own, you have nobody there to help you out. And so, you know, I witnessed a lot of, you know, fights, girls getting pimped out, sex trafficked, just a lot of like traumas and nightmares, and just, you know, being just for profit at the end of the day. And but now through all of that, I'm still a strong person, and I'm still even stronger now. And I just want to be a voice for these kids now, because, you know, yeah, I didn't really have that because I had to be just for myself. You know, I didn't have someone to really stand up for me too much. But I am thankful for my support system, like Sylvia and other people, because I wouldn't have been able to do any of this without them, and of course God. So I want to shout them out most importantly. But now, you know, through all of the things I've gone through, I just want to be the light and be the voice and just help other kids that are going through the same things, and to know that they're not alone, that they have someone who is here to help them. And I'm not going to leave them, because I know what it's like being alone, not feeling like you're cared for, not feeling like you have the love and nurture. But like for me, going through all the experience, I just want to help other kids. And this is about the generation for the kids.
Amen. KK has become kind of a second daughter to me. I have a daughter that, and actually KK and my daughter are good friends now. They talk a lot on the phone. In fact, they were talking. My daughter had her speaker on, and I heard you talking. I said, "Is that KK again?" No, I'm joking, KK. You can call anytime you want. I love you. So we always kid with KK. Me and Sylvia love joking with KK because the generation gap. So we'll talk about like record players and stuff and tapes and 8 tracks. Yeah. She has no idea what we're talking about, but it's fun. We have a good time.
I know what record players are.
I know.
Well,
you know
I want to say something. I want to point a couple things out about that. You know, children are always going to, we can rehome them like animals. We can adopt them out and give them mansions and the newest sneakers and everything. But they will always want to know where they came from. Children always want to know their biological families, and they always want to know where they came from. And this system is saying that they are trying to create, or prevent adverse events that will affect them in the long run. They are creating the adverse events that will last a lifetime for these children. And when you hear KK say, you know, yes, there was some love, but but there was still staff, and we got our one meal, we got our all this. That's not how children, are we agreeing that that's how children should be raised? I mean, we all have children. I'll go as far as saying children being put in same-sex homes, where even a friend of mine, her daughter was put in a same-sex home, and they were going into court. The parents, the 2 women, went and got married, so it would be legit, you know, look good on paper. They would go into court and say, oh, but she has the newest sneakers, she has all these things, and she's thriving. This is the other term. They're thriving.
Thriving. Yeah.
Thriving does not mean that they're more provided for. They have more material things. They have more, you know, people enabling this. It's like, no, that's not thriving. We know the science about how easy it is to brainwash a child, especially if you're a family member. Okay. And you are putting, how are we okay with our children? Your child, a stranger is coming and taking you and putting you in a home, driving you in the car. Don't we teach children not to go with strangers, not to trust strangers, all of this? So they're to go back to the same-sex household. I'm sorry for a second, but to go back to that, her daughter then, over this period of time working the case plan and everything, started coming to her saying, Mom, I think I'm gay now.
Oh my gosh.
And then the next week was, Mom, I want you to meet my new girlfriend. Okay. She's my foster sister. This is also,
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Okay.
I don't even.
No, this is promoting incest. This is promoting homosexuality. This is promoting trans. This is doing all of it. And this is an ideology. Okay. So we are allowing, like, it's under the color of law. Okay. Ideologies and subjective opinions in the current atmosphere of our country and our nation, with so many different opinions, so many different perspectives, and we're allowing our system to be based on that with our children. Does any of us think that our children should be raised with people checking in on them and giving them their meals and transporting them? That's a trafficking term that is used in. Okay, they are called transporters. This is a trafficking system. If you don't understand that there's a demand for it, there is behind closed doors, and that we need to be redefining who the child predators are. We want to evolve. We want to redefine things. We want to come up with new things. Well, you know what? This Candy and Park pedophile is not what we are dealing with today. We are dealing with, that's the minority. Okay, we are administrators, politicians, judges, you know, local big figures, you know, elites. It's so much on that other level that are the ones that are benefiting and need this to continue in this way. Hillary Rodham Clinton and Margaret Sanger, we're all learning a lot about abortion these days, and you know, how we were all tricked. I mean, I'm a recovering feminist, okay? Like, I will blatantly admit that, and thank God. You know, people say, oh, she has, you know, kids with all different fathers. Well, that was what was in Hollywood. That was what was promoted, you know, and, you know, in the arenas that I grew up in, people are on like 3rd and 4th marriages with a lover across the world and love children that they don't know about. That's the environment I grew up in. You know, it's like, I was the conservative one.
But that's it's grooming.
But I
It's
think that
all
we need to realize that, and that's where
it is grooming.
Well, and that's where I bring in the National Center, and that's why this is so important with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They have been given the authority of God in our country over our children, and they are not even a government agency. These are all the social workers, National Center, all these like first responder, whatever. No. This is not working. This is we cannot leave this up to everyday civilians with no you know, it's a mess. So what we really need to be doing is redefining who child predators are, making sure that we're actually protecting our children, not just saying that we are, and turning a blind eye and moving on with our day. Otherwise, just say you don't care about children. You know, we all know that child trafficking happens, right? Well, we're in America where it's the land of the free and everything's aesthetic and social media and influencers and the way that everything looks. So what do you think child trafficking is going to look like in America? We know what it looks like in India. We know what it looks like in China. We know what it looks like in these different places. What does it look like in America? Do you think it's going to be some ugly thing? No, it's packaged nice and cute like we do, right? And we make everyone think that it's good, and that's what we do. And you know what? The rest of the world is looking at this. There's issues with CPS and in whatever it's called in every other place in the world, which should be concerning in itself. It's not just under one name. But, you know, we have these issues happening otherwise. And we also always want to acknowledge that the world is looking at the US. We're the superpower. The world looks at us. Well, if we can't protect our own kids, what joke are we? And what precedent are we setting for the rest of the world? If we can't even freaking ante up, we don't deserve to be considered, you know, a superpower, these great American people, or even freedom when our children are enslaved. Your child becomes a ward of the state. That's a criminal. They're a juvenile delinquent when they're taken into custody. And taken into custody. And you know what? That's the most backwards thing. Like, this is the most inverted approach I've ever seen in my entire life. Because again, like you said earlier, parents that are abusive are taken out of the home, right? We are taking children like they did something wrong and incarcerating them, putting them with strangers, making them go do services, riding cars where people could be drunk. You know, we don't know the driving skills. I mean, they don't even know. They get training on how to put a car seat in, and they don't even know how to do that. So this is it's really bad. We just have to start realizing this in a bigger picture of things. But going back to the center is that, you know, again, everyone wants this list. We talk about child trafficking, but then we don't want to ever connect the dots. The middle gets completely lost and people just let it go by the wayside. But when you have people donating to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children as a nonprofit, like L Brands, which is Les Wexner, the whole backing behind Epstein. You have the International Center being started by Richard Branson, with Hillary Rodham Clinton involved, the World Economic Forum. This is a global, this is a global
you can't. It's like a movie.
Right. It literally is. Oh, I've been living the Twilight Zone for the past 2 years, maybe my whole life. I don't know.
Well, and like when I had my, you know, when I had the experience with Hibiscus Children's Center, I mean, it's all by design. So what they do is they have this place called the shelter. And so they have it where they take the kids to the shelter, and it's like being incarcerated already, because they have the boy side and the girl side. Now they probably have a trans side and whatever too now. But they set it up that way to where they eat together. They have to eat at a certain time. And so they're already grooming the kids. And so when I was raising money for Hibiscus Children's Village, the village was supposed to be where the kids go and live with house parents, and then they learn how to live in a house and make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and learn how to integrate into the home. And then you start to realize like everything's inverted, like this is the wrong way to go about it. They should be put in a shelter to act like they're in jail so that they can go transition to a home and then never go back to their parents. I mean, it was just like, and then you don't see it at the time, but then you see it now. And so that's what the public, and like Meg is saying, is like, people have to realize that like you're donating to these places thinking you're doing the right thing, when you realize that you're only donating to the evil, because evil, living backwards is evil spelled backwards. So we're living in reverse. So we're doing it backwards. We're not putting them in a place where they need to be. We're putting them in a place where they shouldn't be and thinking that it's the right place for them to be. And that's where you get psychologically manipulated, and the kids get manipulated, and then they really don't know where they're going. And like they said, they end up with abuse. They end up in jail. They end up in jail after 2 years after transitioning, and they know that's a problem. They know that after they're kicked out of the foster home, or after kicked out of Hibiscus Children's Village, they end up in jail because they don't know where else to go, because they don't know how to transition to the world, because they were put into jail before they could get back into the home. It's absolutely absurd.
Or they end up in sex work.
It is. It's absolutely absurd, and you see it, and you see for what it is. And like you said, it's all grooming. It's grooming the kids, and they make it look like it's a good thing, and it's actually a bad thing. And it's disgusting, and it's got to stop. And the only way it's going to stop is for people like yourselves to be able to do this, to speak about it. KK, you're stepping into your role right now. You're being called to purpose, because this is what you're supposed to do. You went through the pain in order to be able to talk to other kids. Like, look, I know what it's like to be in your shoes. Don't be afraid. I can help you with this. They have to have that person, and they never have it, because they want to keep you in fear, and they want to keep these kids in despair. So they have no hope. There's no hope for any possible chance of a normal life.
Yep.
I wanted to
very true.
Thing real quick.
Go ahead, KK.
Go ahead, KK.
So what Megan was saying, like the kids just want like love and nurture, and like that's how I am. Like that's all I want too, because I've never really had that, like, and that's what the kids want in the system. They want to feel like they care for. They want to feel like there's somebody out there that cares about them, that has their back, that will show up for them, and what they're doing in the system, they make it so like traumatizing. Like sometimes I still get nightmares from it. Like, sometimes I can't sleep at night from the stuff that happened, and I'm just, it is very traumatizing. Like they do this for the kids where they're just in constant like pain and suffering. They're crying out for help, and like kids don't really care about the newest shoes or the newest watch or
that's old.
They just care for love and nurture, and
they don't even care about the substance abuse or any adult struggles, to be honest. Children want the best for their parents, and that's another thing that they manipulate. They say, oh, any abused child, they love their parents. No, that's not the truth. Yes, there's Stockholm syndrome, and we know that, but that's a syndrome. Like most children love their parents. I watch my parents go through crazy stuff. I mean, if we talk about years ago and latchkey kids, or the way we were raised, or generations before and everything, I mean, no one would have a child at this point. And to be honest, I'm going to be so radical, and this is for point's sake, but I'm going to be so radical to say that if we can't all step up as a nation and protect our children truly, then do we deserve to have children, honestly?
That's a good point, Megan. It really is. That's an excellent point. And I want to do a shout out to Telegram. We've got Finn, and we've got Patriot Happy Hour that are watching this stream. Guys, please donate.
Yes.
We need to hit a few goals to make sure that we can go forward. We are so close, I can taste it, to bringing one of Megan's youngest of her 4 children home. And in order to do that, this is why we are taking our time and bringing all of this to you today. For those of you that are still thinking, oh, come on, CPS can't be that bad. It's okay that you don't know. If you have ever seen people out and about, and everyone knows what a foster child looks like, imagine yourself as that foster child. And then know as an adult the difference between abuse and a social secular ideology, which is what CPS now is currently working on and has been working on for the past 25 years. They get it right 5 to 10% of the time. And even those cases don't stay with CPS because those are criminal cases where parents of or an adult has tragically harmed a child to the point of maiming, injury, disability, and or death. So does CPS. CPS kills more children than parents do. I'm going to say it again. CPS maims, harms, injures, and kills more of their wards than parents in the United States do. We can do better. We all know how to do better. We can all stand up and do better. We don't need this entity to do anything more, because all they do is create more problems and disrupt an entire generation of children that they snatch up, knowing that those people are going to have a harder time in life holding a job, getting college education, having a family of their own. They do this on purpose, knowing that they've got a second and third generation bite at the apple. For when quotas come around, we don't have enough kids, we're not going to get our funding. We need to go out. Let's look and see who our foster. Oh, look, so-and-so just got married. Oh, she got married to someone who is divorced and has 3 kids. Well, let's go grab those kids. And you know, they use in these ex-fosters, when CPS shows up, they'll say to the foster child, the ex-foster child, we know you were in foster care, so we know you're not right in the head. They know their own program causes trauma. They know their own program leaves lifelong scars. So if they know this, why are we, the American people, trusting that they're the only government agency that supposedly is still operating correctly? The post office doesn't operate correctly. Your bank doesn't always operate correctly. Grocery stores, forget about it. It's a flipping mess. Even courts, if you just get a ticket, they just expect you to pay it. You want to go and fight it? Good luck. That's almost like going in front of Nuremberg. It has become insane when nothing else in our society, governmental wise, works. Why in the hell do you think CPS, a child snatching program, would be the only thing working? It is as broken as everything else in our government society today. And it is affecting children to the point we now have 6 to 9-year-olds committing suicide. We have 9,000 to 12,000 parents that commit suicide over losing their children in family law and or CPS. We have entire family wealth structures being bled. You know, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever can step in to help pay for the legal side, to pay for the extra reports, to go outside the county and get a professional mental health eval or a blood and hair sample to prove that you've never been, you know, a drug addict. It is a money gulping enterprise that grabs everything and anything and sucks it into itself. So when we're fighting something as large as CPS, we need your help. We need your prayers. We definitely need your financial support. You have a talent or a skill or a want to help children, please reach out to any one of us. We would love to talk to you. We are open, because it's not just going to be one person that takes this thing down. It's not just one voice that's going to be heard. It is we all. These are our children, not they, them, theirs. These are our children, and we're not going to let one more child suffer through this without being very loud and getting a big crowd. It is time. This is the precipice. This is the hill everyone on this podcast has chosen to die upon. And I would rather die on my feet than to bleed out and fly on my knees.
Yeah.
Let me piggyback on that, Pamela. If you're out there and you're watching this either in the replay or live right now, and you're a former caseworker, or maybe you're still in the system and your heart's tugging at you, your conscience is getting to you, you have a place to go. You have friends here.
Yeah.
And we will welcome you with open arms. You can have anonymity. You don't have to worry about us exposing you. But we need your voice. We need you. We know there's good people in the system. You're out there. You have heart for children. But you know what? You're stuck in a bad system. You can come out of it. We're going to welcome you right here. You can call Sylvia for sure at Rescue the Fosters. She gets calls all the time. And you have a safe place. We're not going to tattle on you. Don't worry. You know, we're not like in kindergarten here. We're adults, and we want to do the best thing for children. So we are just, you know, if you're out there and you're listening, please give us a call. We would definitely appreciate it. KK, did you want to read your poem?
Yes.
Okay, get your Kleenex out, everybody.
Oh, jeez.
I already I know. It's so good. It's so good.
So I basically wrote this poem literally like a couple of days ago. So I just put it in my heart and I just wanted to share this. So I didn't really come up with a name, but I just said children in foster care. So I said, insecure and left alone to defend for ourselves. We are praying to the Lord for when this nightmare is going to end. How many more sleepless nights? How much more pain and tears do we have to endure? When can I see my family or someone who cares for me? Are we not good enough, or are we just some test rats that have to follow orders? Are we just worth $1, or are we actually being taken care of? Our hearts are burning in pain, and our tears keep falling from our cheeks. Tired of crying and having our emotions in cycles. Our voices are being empowered by the ones who have more authority than us. However, today is the day it ends. No more feeling ashamed and leaving abandoned. We are standing up tall, raising our voices high. We are a child of God, and our work has just begun. God thinks we are enough and worth fighting for. God has our back and no need to fear. If God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:31. Not one more child is going to be left alone and abandoned. Thank you, Jesus, for all you have done for us, and all glory goes to you. Amen.
Amen.
Okay,
Amen.
who wants to follow that?
Wow, that's
Not
powerful.
I know I was
No.
That's
tearing up.
powerful. That's awesome, man.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Kiki.
that's wow. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Guys, again, this
You know
is
what?
a
I want to say, what
go
would you
ahead,
say,
Meg.
Gina?
I was just going to remind everybody we are doing a fundraiser here, the MEGHAN-LODON, hosted by your good friends at Rescue the Fosters. We do need your donations, just like Pamela was saying here a couple seconds ago. I just want to remind you that is why we are doing this show tonight, to bring awareness. Obviously, we need more awareness on this subject matter, especially in Middle America, but also to raise money for Megan's cause. And we want her children home. And the more money we get, the faster we can do this, folks. And it's going to help. Megan, a lot of people don't understand it. People that have been hurt by the system understand this, because how do you go to work if your children have been taken to you? Why don't they have a job? Why aren't they making money? Are you kidding me? How traumatized would you be if your children were taken from you? Would you be able to get up and go to work? Would you be able to? There's people living in utter fear right now of repercussions that could be coming their way. Now, thank God, Megan's covered in prayer. We got her covered. We got her. The Lord's watching out for her, and Megan's going to do great things. You watch her become the face of this movement. I'm telling you, her day's coming, and the revenge of the Lord will be upon these people. But for now, we have a fight we got to engage in. And this is something I go into quite often on our shows, because I'm talking to the men. John, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate what you guys are doing over there. There's a few other guys that have got into this movement, but we need a whole bunch of you.
Yeah, we do.
We have the mama bears. Mama bears came out with their claws, and man, did they rustle some feathers out there, ruffle some feathers out there. But where's the men? We need more of you. We need you dads to stand up, husbands to stand up. We're the defenders of our family. This great country was founded on our backs, protecting the most vulnerable among us. Let's do something.
That's another thing, though, and I agree with that, which prompts me to bring this up. And I'm so sick of these dividing, bait tactics that are being put out on anything that they can divide people on. And I support healthy parenting. I support, if you can, I know that families and relationships look all different ways these days, but you know what, if you have healthy parents involved in the child's life, whatever aspect that is, and you can co-parent, which this is ridiculous. You all decided to have children together. If it doesn't work out, this has nothing to do with the child. It is not the child's fault. We know what is healthy for a child. We know, okay, he should be with you for a little bit, or there's ways to be human and get over ourselves to co-parent in a healthy manner. But why I'm bringing this up here is because we are also opposing, and what has come into the social justice warrior front has been this father's rights movement. And it is horrific. It is giving children to abusers. It's enabling abuse. It's enabling pedophilia. They're the victims, all of this. When again, I'm not going to get into that, but we need to be together in this. All parents need to be together protecting our children from, you know, an outward system that's coming against us, if you will. So I do want to point that out. A lot of fathers are upset about child support and and all of that, and I get that. That's very real, and that's a whole different, you know, podcast and show to address that, because it's another aspect. But it's not to be used, like, that's not a reason to make a platform and then be defeating an overall mission for our children. You know, that's making it about yourself again. So we've got great fathers in the fathers' rights movement and speaking out. I know several of them very well, but we need to get on the same page about this, because that's been presented. It's been put to them by the system. Now we're going to pay attention to you. Now we're going to start awarding you stuff. Now you don't have to, we'll listen to you about child support. Oh, you're right. You know, women equal, they're like men, you know, it's bad. It's a bad situation. So I just hope that we can all kind of drop our different, you know, micro issues with different things or opinions or approaches or what we think is best, and really approach this and tackle the macro issue that is affecting our country and our families and ultimately our future, which we're seeing by the day. I mean, these children would not be going out shooting each other. They wouldn't be attacking each other in school. They wouldn't be, you know, if we had strong family structures and not even necessarily being a husband. We know divorce happens, that's fine, but that's not, again, just like poverty is not an equivalent to abuse, divorce is not an equivalent to abuse. It's the parents that then go into that and abuse or use the system through family court. And we talk all about, you know, our focus is CPS and all of that, but I want the viewers to also know that more of you have actually experienced it through the family court system as well.
Yeah, good point. I want to switch gears a little bit here. Pam and Sylvia, can you guys let the audience know what to do if that dreaded knock comes on the door from these Nazis?
I'll let Pam start.
Okay. All right. So this is one of my favorites. I tell parents all the time, know your rights. It is so important that you understand you have a 4th and 14th Amendment to be protected from harassment from anyone, law enforcement included. So when the CPS worker comes and knock, 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 and you open, and here is this person, probably not too pleasant, looking rather somewhat official, saying, we've had a call that your children are in danger. We need to come in, evaluate your home. The very first thing you say is, oh, who are you? What is your name? Do you have a card? If there is an LEO there, get their name, get their card, and then tell them, please stand right here. I'll be right back. And you shut the door and you go in and you call your county sheriff and demand a deputy come out and evaluate your home before these people even think about getting anywhere near you or your children. Your home is your protected 4th Amendment space. 4th Amendment protects you in your person, place, papers, and things. So that covers everything. Sheriff comes in, all they can look for are crimes. Make sure that you have hot and cold water, that you have heat and air conditioning, or a way to keep yourself temperate for the climate, that there is food in the house, and that you have flushable toilets, that the water's on. That's it. There is no other law that allows CPS to come in and say, oh, you chose pink curtains. You're sick. You need anger management and you need mental health therapy. That was a real case. I'm not kidding you. We got them home in 3 months.
Oh, yeah.
But those children were taken over deco. I'm not even kidding you. Folks, this is a rogue entity. So much so that Mrs. Rodas has laid out for us 85,000 migrant children have been lost. Now, it shouldn't matter if we're talking about migrants, Americans, Canadians, people off the moon. A child is a child is a child. I don't care what color they are. I don't care what faith they are. It is a child. And if a child is being hosted on our nation's soil, they deserve the exact best care that we can give them when our own children are not getting the best care that we can give them. God only knows what these poor migrant children are going through. This is no longer a subjective conversation. This is now a conversation with facts, data, and input. So much so that it's now coming in massive swaths just from January to now. the numbers that are coming in that we, the people, have spent on just border children, not even CPS, just border children being taken by foster care is enough for every man, woman, and child in this nation to have $2.5 million put in their account.
Yep.
This is about money. This is not about protecting children. This is about taking a commodity, our children, and using them to prop up ideologies, to prop up politics, to prop up their own power structure in order to force a country to comply. Do look this up. Look up anything that we've told you. We always speak the absolute truth, and this is all knowable and findable right off the internet. You can even Google it. You don't have to use anything special to find this information. When you go through and look at how much money has been spent, go to tags.org. Tags.org will tell you where every last dollar you have paid in taxes, Fed, has gone. Be prepared to have your jaw hit the floor. Now look at our country's children. We supposedly have a Western entitled nation, and yet foster children and the families they are taken from are treated as caste-like second-class citizens. I have seen stray dogs with more rights and treated better. Sylvia?
Yeah, no, you're right. We do have advocates as well. We are going to be training. This is something that Pam and I are going to be working on, and that's training other advocates because they can help when CPS does come knocking on your door. But the best thing is to know your rights, as Pam was saying. And this was something I learned after I was in the system about your rights. And if you have a court order, and yeah, like Pam was saying, you can always reach out to us. Don't wait until it's 15 months into a case, because when a child is taken into care, you have 15 months to complete that case plan, and then they do railroad the parents to make sure they don't meet that 15 months, which we're seeing time and time again. And this goes back to when I was a case manager. We were not allowed to write strengths about the biological parent. We could only write the strengths about the foster parent. We could not put our concerns in there about the foster parents. And when you do put your notes in, it goes to a supervisor, and that supervisor reviews those notes. And if they don't like it, they delete it, and they make you rewrite it to the way that they want it written. And just so everyone is aware of this, also, there is a copy and paste method. So when I'm getting parents telling me they didn't have the name of my child even spelled correctly, I ask how far was it off, because was it a copy and paste, or was it a completely different child? So that's another way that they're doing it. They're not following the laws. They're not following their own policies or procedures. I went to UGA for social work. So I learned social work at UGA, but when I went into the system, it was completely different. And so they are not teaching them correctly. And that's another thing that Megan was talking about earlier, is that you don't need a bachelor's, you don't need a social work degree. It's basically a bachelor's degree in any type of field, and that can be photography, it can be art, it can be
basket weaving.
Yeah, as long as it's a bachelor's, that's all that matters. And then they teach you how to complete a case plan. And so the system is set up. I don't think it's broken. I think it's perfected. And it took me a while to figure it out. And we really need people to wake up and realize that when a child is taken, that maybe the parent didn't do anything wrong, that maybe they should start asking questions about the system and what they could have done to help keep that family together. Exactly. And that's what we need to start doing in our own communities.
Yep. Can't agree with you more there. That's the biggest problem, really, is that people locally, they don't look into it themselves. I mean, I saw it firsthand with the local law enforcement, what they did. They didn't question it one bit.
Right.
Nothing
No,
whatsoever. They didn't question it.
actually, when people called to support me or to inquire about what the heck is happening, why aren't you guys doing anything? They told everyone, oh, there's more to the story.
Well, yeah.
This deals with mental illness and substance abuse, where that's actual slander and defamation. They are controlling a narrative because they had no proof whatsoever of mental illness or substance abuse, and to this day. And that actually reminds me, it's very reminiscent of when everyone came forward to give their testimony, their eyewitness account of Adam, my brother, being abducted. And they went or called the police station, and when their narrative or their take of it did not match up with the narrative that the police station was putting out with my father and the local media, then they were turned away, or they were shamed, and actually some of them have been retaliated against for the past 20 years, and using CPS as well. One of the witnesses came forward, Mia Taylor, and CPS came forward and accused her of having a baby and hiding it. And the baby was actually horrifically born. It was a stillborn child, and she had to go through that trauma and everything. And they were still claiming that the child was alive and trying to come after it. So, I mean, it is a ruthless thing. And I also know that the National Center does weaponize and use behind closed doors CPS to harm people and to take children. We have many accounts, endless testimonies. The Walmart missing flyers, that's a whole other thing. I implore people to go to Nino Rodriguez, Nino's Corner on Rumble. Mike Pack and I just did an interview, I believe it was 2 weeks ago now or so. It's up for free. You do not have to pay behind his paywall over there. He put it up on Rumble for us. And it's a very great interview of Mike and I going into the details about the National Center and the global trafficking capabilities and things that they have, which we're realizing more and more about by the day. The National Center has oversight and ownership of the world's largest child porn database. And who has access to that?
Wow.
Oh, we know the FBI does, right? The FBI is the largest holder of all child pornography. As they started in 2010, it got really big that obviously there was going to be a child pornography issue. And the United States, I hate to tell Americans this, we are the #1 consumer of child pornography, which is why there is a need. And when there is a need, CPS have to take more children because children grow up and don't stay children very long. Even snuff films. Remember when I told you that CPS maims and kills children? A lot of these, unfortunately, are organized. They're not accidents. Yeah. CPS is a lot more than what most Americans believe it to be. And this may sound conspirium to you, but we do have dossiers that prove it. Jacob Bowens, who used our information, Sylvie and I, and a team that put that together on just the border children. This last Tuesday, he was on several shows talking about CPS as it applies to what we're seeing at the border. If they can lose 85,000 children, I don't care if they're from the moon. How many children do you think they've lost here? We are missing 800,000 children a year since 1998. What else went in 1998? ASFA. Who are we talking about? Hillary and Bill Clinton. Need I say more? This has been a program that has been run on the American people, and it is time that we all understand it, stand upon foundational truth, facts, and data as we know it, and shut this criminal enterprise, a mafia for children, down.
And that's another thing that I talk about. We talk a lot, and many different people out and advocates, and it's wonderful to say that we need to know our rights. Another aspect that we up tonight was parents that are in this literally then have to become like lawyers. And while you're in trauma, you have to learn the law, you have to learn your rights, all of this. And is this how we live? Like, is this what we do now? Oh, know your rights? No. How about we all stop participating? Because if you don't participate, they don't profit.
Exactly.
So you know what? They're going to take your kids regardless if they're
Yep.
there and they've got their mindset on it. So stop participating. Your kids are going to be taken anyways. And if they can't make money off of it and they don't have people fighting, the fighting parents is what they go after, because they know that they're going to keep it going. They're going to spend the money. They're going to do whatever. And I know that this sounds insane and horrific, but we're at a horrific and insane point right now, and when we don't participate, then they're going to have to say, we can't say that they didn't do a case plan. We can't say that they're correct. We can't say that they didn't do this or that or whatnot. And now all the focus is on us with these children that we're just taking. For what reason? Why was that child taken? Why was that child taken? Like, again, they'll come in and say your curtains were, closed or the wrong color, and they will take your children. And if you asked me that 4 years ago, or told me that, 4, 5, 6 years ago, I would have thought you were crazy. So we all understand, but at this point, to hear that this is going on and to be able to be like, oh, no, that's great. I mean, that says something. I hate to say, but that says something about you. Like, that really does at this point. I know that once I heard about it and saw families fighting and protesting and everything, I couldn't sleep at night, and I had to do something about it. Even when my children were sleeping safely and soundly right next to me, or in their beds, and I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't know that, especially my family, we've created an entire need for this. And that's another thing, like we're talking about ASFA. Since the National Center started, this child crisis has only grown. We have enough in this country for terrorists to be hunted down, and we can listen to everyone's phones and we can do all this, but we can't save our children. We can't figure this out. We can't protect our children. Like, that should be a big discrepancy for people, a big disconnect, because like Pam said, yes, the FBI, the DOJ, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and they're flying monkeys. Okay. And The Hague in Europe. Okay. The Hague is taking children. They are going through the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children, who is actually advising abusers how to set up the protective parent to look like they fled with the child. So then they benefit from the whole Hague lawsuits and the whole then they're getting that money, and the child is then put back with the abuser, and it's a horrific thing. But this is happening, and they're using this, and we need to understand, in that realm, it's not about what you know, it's who you know. That's the slang. I was raised with that my entire life. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I was like, well, that seems weird, but okay. But anyways, it was, and in this racket, that's what it is. In every community, you have your family that's been law enforcement forever. You have your family that's been in the school board or teachers or whatever, and these people, obviously hold ideologies. They grab their chest. They're the God complex. They do all this for society and everything. But those are the people that are all working together. The lawyers, again, I know a lot of people have heard this, but they take an oath to the bar. They do not take an oath to you or as the client, especially. And when parents are getting court-appointed attorneys, they are doing backdoor deals, and they also don't even have to do the deals because they all work together. It's an unspoken thing. They know what they can fight and bring up in court to make it look like they're trying to fight for you, but then they also know the law, and they know the things that the other side has to declare and make sure by wordage and everything. It's literally to that has to be present for them to be able to do what they're doing, and they make sure that happens. And I mean, again, I could go on. I'm stopping myself, but I think people really need to understand that. And I guess I'll segue into this because of time, but this is where I bring up that you need to start doing things in your community. You need to literally, if you don't even want to get up off your butt, you can go and Google. Okay. I know you've been tweeting. I know you've been Facebooking. I know you've been doing whatever. Go Google and look up your county's DCF department and the office. look up the attorneys that are representing, look up the CPI or the Child Protective Investigators names, okay? Then you go over and you look at who they are contracting their case plans out to, what business, what community organization, and then from there, you go and look at who they, are we hearing this? Who they contract out for services, what doctors, what therapists, what organizations, what facilities, what pharmacies. Okay. And they have to provide all of that. So that's all sitting right in front of you. The racket in your county is sitting right in front of you. And it takes a quick search. And then you go and you hold people accountable. You start talking about it. You introduce yourself to your sheriff. You say, look, I want to get involved, and I just want to introduce myself because I will be contacting you. I will want to be discussing some of these issues. You can also call your county clerk or courthouse and request the dependency judge's Zoom link. So these are supposed to be public hearings up until termination of parental rights. Every hearing should be a public hearing. So you can go and you can actually be a court watcher. You can let the clerk know that you're a court watcher. You can request the link, and you go on your lunch break or your day off for an hour to do a community service and help people, and literally go just listen and witness on that Zoom of the cases that are coming up that day. And you can furthermore actually write affidavits regarding what you have seen in that, and you can file them with the clerk. So we need people doing that. You need to look it up. You need to get involved with court watching. You need to talk to your sheriff, and you need to start saying, we need to be looking into this. You can also find the statistics county on returns, on removals, on all of that, and the money that's being delegated and delineated out. So this is not like oh, this is so horrific, we grab our chest, we don't know what to do, hope these people are successful. This is your responsibility, especially if you're a parent or a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle. And also, I'll even say furthermore, especially if you're just a regular citizen, because you know what? Parents are in trauma right now. For example, over 9.7 million Native American families are terrified because in less than 3 months, our government is voting on whether they will have rights to their children or not. And if we think that it stops there with them, I'm not going to be rude. I'm going to keep my grace right now. I think we get the point.
that was really good, actually. I've never seen you do that before. That was amazing. Well said. Well
the Lord
said.
Is good. He who strengthens us. No, I'm kidding.
So there was a caller on the line, but I don't know what happened. Something fell off. So hopefully try to call back in, and we'd love to hear from you. He was in the waiting room, and then I clicked on it, and it kept saying joining, and then it went away. So try again.
Well,
so
hopefully it's important he'll call back.
Yeah. We've got a lot of people watching. Good show tonight, everybody. Thanks for all the information. Hopefully, if you aren't aware of what's been going on in this country, you've been made aware tonight by these great guests we've had on, and all the stupid host.
Wait, I almost forgot. Gino, the last thing that people can do to get involved is go to Megan/Walsh/designs.myshopify.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
You can go to my new store. It's very small right now. We're starting small. I want to be strong, and we'll grow with more designs. I'm getting back to fashion, but I create a very accessible line of t-shirts and little merchandise because, and I'm going to tell you why, because this is a great way to start conversations in your community. This is a great way when you're not the person going, do you know about this? I got it. And you can be chalked off as crazy. No, you're wearing a shirt that they can read or not read. You can wear it to the store. You can wear it to a barbecue on the weekend. You can wear it to your local rec center, and it says, whatever you choose from my thing, but we've got, end child predator services, end child pimping services, and government trafficking. So whatever you feel comfortable, you can go pick out. I've done very minimal, clean design so that everyone can wear them with just jeans and some sneakers or whatever you want. And we've got some cool backpacks I did and some koozies and bumper stickers. So, you know, these are ways that you can actually, without having to even say anything, you can represent and you can spark interest and awareness. You can spread awareness, and that starts the conversation. I mean, just, we all know that somebody's going to say, what does that mean? And that's an opportunity really with Grace to say, like, I understand, but were you aware of this? Like, and this is really what's going on. Or there's this fact, or in our county, you know, this is the real issue here. And these are the people, you know? And so I think that that's a really great way for people to be able to, you know, who might be intimidated or less vocal or introverted, to really be able to also participate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it definitely works. That's for sure. No, it definitely works. That's for sure. I wear a shirt that says "Building 7 didn't collapse itself."
Yeah, exactly.
I want that shirt.
And people love that. Yeah. So, yeah.
We have a guest. Mika, how are you? Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yeah, you got it right. How are you doing?
Oh, good. Good. How are you? Thanks for calling in.
I'm doing great.
Welcome to Rescue the Fosters, our MEGHAN-LODON fundraiser. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Pretty peachy.
So what do you have for us? You got a question, comment?
I'm kind of just stopping by to see what's going on.
Okay, well, welcome. Cool. Welcome. Cool. We do you know what
we're talking about CPS tonight and child trafficking.
Oh.
Oh. You gotta love that response, right? Oh, that one.
Were you aware?
A heavy topic.
Were you aware of that, Mika?
Huh?
Were you aware of any of this? That this is going on in our country?
I saw the beginning. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
What do you think about that? I mean, you're a young guy. How old are you?
I am 16.
16.
Nice.
Wow. Yeah.
My son's age. Yeah.
Awesome. Wish I could be 16 again. Do you have your driver's license yet?
Yes.
Awesome. Nice. Very good. Are you a safe driver? No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So, Mika.
On occasion.
Yeah, that's not what we want to hear. That's not what we want to hear. So, Mika, well, let me ask you though. Let's get your opinion on this. So, you're a young guy, and I mean, this probably isn't on your radar screen. I'm guessing, like about trafficking and all that stuff. But you're in a generation, and I love hearing from your generation. Your Gen, what is it? Gen Zen, right? Z, I think, right? Z. So you're Gen Z. So I know you guys grew up with electronics and all that stuff right out of the womb. And what do you think when you go to school and you hear people that, maybe they're confused on what gender they are, or they're, discussing things that let me just say, when I grew up, we didn't have to worry about all that stuff. I wasn't worried about who I was, but I know your generation, that's a big deal, like identifying. So have you struggled with that yourself, or do you know anybody that is struggling with that? No. Okay, good.
A friend I'm on the phone with, yeah.
Pardon me?
A friend I'm on the phone with is struggling with it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and now are you compassionate towards them, or do your friends like make fun of them, or are they compassionate?
I'm like, hold on, I'm gonna mute. I'm trying to get with her at the moment, and people are saying I'm gonna get with a guy.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well,
this is the new worry.
It's a girl that is transitioning, but it's people are making fun of me because of how I'm gonna date a dude.
Well, I don't know if they should be making fun of that. I mean, I feel like these people need help. They need to be loved. Would you agree with that?
I understand, yeah.
Yeah. It's because we're dealing with a crisis in this country right now. And do you know Meghan? Were you watching? Do you know who Meghan is?
Meghan that was sharing not sharing the screen. The one that was in the meeting. Sorry.
We're having the fundraiser, yeah, for Meghan. And she talks quite a bit about mental health in this country and people that really need to be helped. Not see, there's a lot of people that think there's something. Like, I would love to think I was 16, but would it make sense if I went to driver's training as a 53-year-old man and said I was 16? No, it wouldn't. And no one would accept me as a 16-year-old, thank God. And I feel bad because there's lots of people that think there's something they're not. And God has made them who they are for a reason.
True.
And they need to know that. They need to understand that, you know, God made them, they're unique. They're a unique person and they need to be loved as such. But we don't pat them on the back and say, oh yeah, do whatever you want, because it can be very harmful to them. So this person you're talking to, I mean, is that what the stage they're in, a transition where it could be very detrimental to them for their future life? I'm assuming they're the same age as you.
Yeah, I'm 16, she's 15, but same grade.
Okay. Well, Mika, I feel bad for you guys, but we'll pray for you. And did you have anything to add to this before we let you go, buddy?
Not that I know of, actually.
Okay. Well, thanks for stopping by, man. Were you just like scrolling through Rumble and then you clicked on and
yeah, I was really like, cool. Hey, what's going on today? And I was like, I'll stop by and see what's going on.
I think that's cool. Thanks for calling in, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah. By the way, I'm not a Zoom bomber. I'm not like those morons.
I know. I appreciate it.
Someone that stops by and just says, "Hey, what's going on?"
I did think that might be what you were up to, but no, I really respect you, man. I'm glad you didn't do that to us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
You have a good night. Okay.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Take care. What a nice kid. There was a couple people. I don't know what's going on with Zoom. I hope it's not acting up, because people are calling in, but then they drop out. So I don't know if maybe they're clicking the link on accident and then getting out. But we lost John. Did John just purposely get out, or did we lose him? Okay.
He may have just purposely.
Let's talk a little bit about the transgender thing, because this pulls at my heartstrings, because you've got a lot of confused people, and it's unfortunately it's being taught, it's being indoctrinated in these kids to believe all this stuff.
I have to say something, okay? Because again, this is dysmorphia. Okay, we know that this is dysmorphia. We know that it is from trauma. Just like the modern mental health industry wants to prescribe and put everyone on medications because that's what they profit from. They are doing this here. They're doing the same concept. Like, these are broken children. You put people on medication, you do whatever because you're going to profit from it. But what that's actually doing is just putting a Band-Aid on the problem. You can't expect that to be healed or to be different in the future because you're only putting a Band-Aid on a problem. So medicating people up is not actually having them look at their trauma and how that's affecting them, and loving ways to be supported and not be isolated because of it, or these variables. But then when we want to say that the only medical treatment for children or humans with body dysmorphia, or whatever we want to call it, is to mutilate themselves, or take hormones, or estrogen, whatever, all these things, that is not addressing their dysmorphia. Like, that is just giving them a lifelong struggle that we now know. I mean, that's a whole other thing. But if you look at anybody that's detransitioned, if you look at these surgeries that are being done on these children, I am sick of hearing, oh, that's too gross for me to see. If you saw children drugged up, laying in the dirt, taped up on our border, being sold by adults, okay, with border patrol there, if you saw children being raped and molested and sold out of their foster homes, if you saw children that were getting cut up in these mad scientist Frankenstein research hospitals like Boston Children's, okay, then you would throw up. Like, you would be physically ill and you would not be able to handle it. This is mutilation. To see the surgeries and what is happening to these children. A girl died from sepsis, like getting a sex change and everything because there wasn't enough skin in her perineum. Like, this is absolutely evil. Like, it's evil. It's literally evil. We are chopping each other up. You're on mute, Gino.
I was saying, don't say it, Sylvia. She's biting. She is trying so hard that she wants. I see it. I see it in your eyes. There's no going back once they transition. There's no detransitioning. You don't just get to go back and be who you were. You're a mutilated human being at that point. And no one would ever, like, if I went to the doctor
You're
today.
sterile too, by
Yeah,
the way.
yes. And
You're sterile
what if,
too,
like,
by the
what
way.
if I
And
went
then
to the
you're gonna
doctor?
need to adopt children, and you're gonna need to adopt children, and then you're gonna need to have, you know, surrogates, and it just keeps going. Sorry, Gina.
But does it make sense if I went to my doctor tomorrow and I said, you know, I don't like my right arm. Can you just lop it off for me, please? I mean, what doctor is gonna? I mean, unless he's sadistic.
Well,
or
that
something.
is a thing.
Yeah,
That
what
is
is he
a
gonna?
thing, you know, that's part of body
Oh my God.
dysmorphia.
Oh my
It
gosh, are you
is
serious?
a thing.
Okay,
For those
bad
of you
example.
who don't know what we're talking
Oh,
about,
boy.
look up the DSM-5. This is
Yeah.
the book that labels out what is a syndrome, what is a condition, what is a disease, and what is dependency. So caffeine now is shown as an addictive substance. You can be addicted to caffeine. You can be addicted to nicotine. You can be addicted to children, as in child porn. So in this DSM-5 that we look at, these surgeries are made for 3 to 5% of the world populace. And we know them as trichromosome people. These are people that have an extra Y or an extra X. So they have 3 chromosomes or trichromes. These people are obviously either incomplete, but look more female or look more male. These blockers, these surgeries are made to help these people become whole so they can live a more functional life as the true person they feel that they are. Many parents who had a hermaphroditic child chose for that child at birth, because at the time that was the thinking. Now we're going back to, oh no, transition them. My 2-month-old is a transgender, and I can just tell, proclaim some of these moms. It drives me absolutely crazy. There's not enough data in science. There is not enough actual function or gain of function studies to prove anything that they're doing right now is anything less than what we see it to be, which is mutilation of a perfect, healthy human being.
It is lunacy. It is mental illness to think that this is the way that we should be doing it. I mean, the fact that we're even so many are having serious discussions about this and debates, it really, I mean, call me what you want, but I have no tolerance for it.
We just did a whole podcast on it. Our last podcast before, we did a whole podcast about it. It's just it's sick, and it stems back to the parents. Really, it goes back to the brainwashing of the parents. The parents are brainwashed to believe that that's okay, that I'm doing the right thing for my kid at 8 years old. When they realize and then when the kid's 16, the kid realizes, Mom, what did you do? Why you don't? None of us remember what we did when we were 8. So could you imagine going to that at 8 years old, and then next thing you know, you're like, oh crap.
Well, and to bring it full circle, because I know KK has something to say, but to bring this point full circle here is that, this also correlates to CPS. I mean, in many ways, but I'm going to make a point here because we're already starting to see it. Okay. This is what they do. Okay. Right. Is prop something up. We had a huge movement about mental illness. Oh, I have anxiety. I have a hangnail. I have that's going to cause me an ism. I need a therapist. All this promoted, right? Just like all this trans stuff is promoted, and children, or parents, to promote their children to be trans and everything. Well, guess what? It's already starting to turn where it's, oh, your parents that bought into this and believed this, well, now we need to take your child because we realized and decided that this is child abuse. So now we're going to take your children, and it's already happened. Florida just passed it as well. So, if people think that this isn't going to affect you in some way, shape, or form,
it's going to.
Absolutely. Go ahead, KK.
So, what she was saying, like they push. Like, for me, I don't hate or discriminate, LGBTQ or, whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
My thing is I would believe that, God made you a man. If you're a woman, you're a woman, and I get it. It's your choice. You make that choice on what you want to do. I don't think it's the best choice, but hey, that is your decision. And like my generation is dealing with identity. And I believe that Satan did that on purpose. He wanted to take away our identity. And my thing is, your identity is in Jesus Christ alone. That's it. Your identity is not found in being transgender. Your identity is not in whatever you think it is. It's only Jesus. And that's the answer. And I get it. Like, And I try to, you know, explain to people that I love and that I care about, you know, and then another thing, like Megan brought up, like, yeah, they push that in foster care. Like there was a point in my life where they were even trying to confuse me, like, oh wait, do I like girls too? But like I knew that they pushed it in foster care a lot. And you know, regardless of if you're trans or whatever, I'm still gonna fight for you. Like I still believe that, you know, you have rights too. You know, like I'm not discriminating against that. I don't believe that that's the choice you should make, but you know, yeah, I just want to bring the light too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, KK. You're still everyone's still a person.
KK brought that religious jargon
And I
in,
think
though.
that that's a big thing. You know, we talk, sorry,
Sorry.
Gina. We talk a lot about
I
Jesus.
have to.
That's why I love you.
Yes.
I had someone say that to me one time. That's why I said it. Some guy's like, oh, you're using that religious jargon on me. I'm like, you mean like God and Jesus and like the Bible? Okay.
Well, I want to say something to that as as an ex-Luciferian teacher and all this craziness. But I want to say something to that because I'm over this. Like people hear Jesus, and then that's a dividing thing if you're not a believer or whatever. But you know what? My biggest thing right now, where people are at in society and regarding Jesus, okay, and all of that, but we are living in a time where there's so much evil around us, okay? And if you don't even care about Jesus, if you have some thing against it or that triggers you, whatever, why are you, let's look at the attributes that we're talking about. That's what Christians mean when they're saying Jesus and referring to it. We're talking about the attributes, meaning empathy, forgiveness, compassion, all of these things. That why are we against that? Why wouldn't we want to be more like that? Why wouldn't we want to learn more about that and be more that way? So if Jesus or Christianity or anything, I understand it can be triggering, and there's a lot of issues, identity issues within that from past within the past generations, like we're seeing with current ones with identity. But I think that, I know religion has scarred a lot of people and different things, but we need to really be looking at the roots of things, the root issue of our child trafficking issue, the root of what Jesus, that word name Yeshua, stands for and what he represents and what he is. And ultimately we know that that is love, and not in a perverted love way like is being taken over these days, but in a true sense of the word, of what that means to truly see yourself in your neighbor and really love that person. And again, that goes towards the better ways to handle these situations within CPS. These are adult issues that children are being exploited for the money from. We need to, if there's any money around any of this or any incentives, that should be awarded when you show thriving families, not children, not your definition, but successful families that you have helped get through a substance abuse issue, that you've helped find housing, that you've helped get through a financial struggle. That's where, if there's going to be any money on helping children, that's where the reward should happen. And I feel very strongly about that. I don't think there should be any money on our children, especially to take, how is that even making sense to people or okay? So I just wanted to say that we have a choice to really make sure that families are successful by focusing on the issues of the parents and not weaponizing or judging or shaming that, because we're all in something these days, and those of us that are in a better place are, what am I trying to say? We are commanded to help others around us and to help others in need.
Well, what it comes down to too is, and get back to the religious aspect in Jesus and God and whatever you want, source energy, God, the prime creator, whatever you want to say. It comes down to it's mocking God's creation. So it's mocking God and telling God that evil can mock that creation and destroy it by using mind control and to get to the minds of the people to destroy and mutilate children. And that's what it really comes down to. And people have to understand that it's mocking the creation of prime creator. It's taking that essence of life and just destroying it right before our eyes. And that's what people have to realize, that it is a biblical war. And it is a spiritual war, and it's a war on our minds and a war on the children, because it all goes down to the children. That's really what it comes down to. Anybody that's watching this right now that is confused by this whole child trafficking and this whole thing with the CPS not taking kids and all that, is everything's in reverse again. It's Child Protective Services. They're supposed to be protecting the children. It's Center for the Missing and Exploited Children. Yeah, they're missing and they're exploited. They're missing and we're exploiting them. We're telling you that we're exploiting them.
And what's the easiest way to missing a child, to like traffic or do something to a child? Say that they're missing, grab your checks. You know, they do a couple flyers that gets in a database. They inform, the community talks about for a couple of weeks. And then what happens with a missing child? It's
That's you guys are bringing the awareness to it. That's all. And that's what we do on our podcast. We'll be having. I'm gonna get going. We're gonna have Megan on our podcast, so you guys check out TGI Now, our podcast. We're on Spotify. We're all on different platforms. We're on YouTube as well. So we're gonna have her on the show on Tuesday. It'll air on Wednesday, and then we'll release that footage that I have as well from inside the home the day that Esther was taken.
I can't thank you guys enough, John, and I will have a few bombs to drop on Tuesday. So with information we haven't talked about tonight. Let everyone know that.
Bring some shirts
definitely
too. We'll promote your shirts on the show too.
Awesome.
Yeah, do it.
Yes.
For sure.
Awesome. Love you, John.
Yep.
Love
Thanks,
you.
John. Good meeting you.
All right, guys.
Tell the guys I
I will.
Tell the
I
guys
will.
I
Thank
said
you.
hi. Yeah.
I will.
God bless. Love you.
See you soon.
Megan,
Thanks,
you
John.
started talking about Hunter Biden earlier, and I think it's worth exploring a little bit deeper into some of the relationships with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I mean, we have Thorn, that's Ashton Kutcher's organization for supposedly software that can find these kids, and was under the guise of helping children. Of course, it's always under that guise, but seems to be to the contrary. I mean, I put that old video of Demi Moore. I'm going to just turn off the names, guys. Every time someone turns off the camera, they just get, it's like shuffling cards here. Every time I've moved them about 1,000 times. No, but Ashton Kutcher. Okay, so he's got this Thorn software, right? And then you've got all these software programs that could really be helping children. I mean, let's face it, this technology could be wonderful if it's in the right hands. Just like fire's great until it's in an arsonist's hand, not an arsenic. So why in the world would an organization who is supposedly helping children, the National Center, why would they be associated with all these people? And why would they be giving Hunter Biden a heart-shaped award that looks a lot like the pedophilia symbol for boy love? I don't know. I don't know, throwing that out there. But do you know why, Megan?
Yeah.
And Pam?
They use the intuitive hardware. CPS uses it. Maximus uses it. Arabella uses it. 1630 uses it. Catholic Charities use it. What am I talking about? We can zero right on into a group, right down to an individual that we want, and find them and locate them. And yet we have all these missing children. We have all these missing border children that we supposedly can't find. The technology is being used, is just being used against we the people and our children, instead of it being used as it's supposed to. Many CPSs are now using a form of AI to tell them whether or not to take a child. That way, nobody is at fault. Their hands are clean. They can pull a Pontius Pilate and go, well, the AI said, at some point, people have to come back to themselves and realize they are adults. You don't have to go and ask a cop. You don't have to go ask a doctor. You don't have to go ask a lawyer. Hey, can I do this before you do something? Live as we always have. They're changing the rules in order to grab as many children as possible. And why are they doing that? Because they're running
Shut the fuck up.
line for July. They sign us up for the UN health, right? And use all of our health sovereignty. That's going to affect first ISS, NCMEC, and CPS children in foster care. They're going to take over the entirety of that. So any parent that didn't want their child vaccinated, any parent that has fought to keep their child off of antidepressants or antipsychotics, these are the children they're going to target first. Just like Fauci in '84, all the way up until even the early 2000s, used children in New York care, CPS care, children, to test out gain of function. Now, if he can do it to a beagle, he can do it to a child. And if they can do it to a beagle and a child, you're next. These are psychopaths and sociopaths. They do not care what we think or how we feel. If they have an AI tool that can get them doing what they're doing faster and get more better results and more adoptions, they're going to use it. So that's what the back door of Thorn is all about. It helps locate these targeted children. Miss Sylvia can tell you all about how there are laundry lists. I want a child with dark hair and green eyes that looks more like my husband. Those social workers and caseworkers are then sent out to go and find that child, find something wrong with that parent. If you're a single parent, you're already behind the freaking 8 ball, and then literally go and get that child, knowing they are going to rip a perfectly loved child out of a loving person's arms, their father or their mother, and adopt them out because money. The root of all evil is the love of money, not having money, but the love of money. And that is what our government, and through government, this small social secular department known as CPS, is causing so much pain and trauma to we, the American people, through our families and children.
So now I just want to touch on that.
Sylvia, sorry. I just wanted that when you heard I'm sorry, I clicked and let someone in, but I had the button ready to go to drop them because I had a feeling it was a troll. So when you heard that, that wasn't me saying that, that was the troll. So I got rid of him as fast as I could. But go ahead, Sylvia. Sorry.
Well, I just want to touch on what Pam and Megan were saying, because we did have quotas and it was a pressure to bring in kids, and we were pressured to bring them in or we would lose our job. And this was a huge pressure. This wasn't just a one-time thing. If you heard the recording, then you can hear how they talk to you. This is not a beat around the bush. This is, if your child is if you have your caseload and they're reunited with the parent or they're adopted out, you have to bring in more kids. And I had a huge problem with that. And most of my coworkers did, but they weren't as vocal as I was. And a lot of my coworkers thanked me for speaking up, but I just couldn't, I didn't understand why they even thought this was okay. Why is this okay to even be that loud and say that you have to bring in kids? You know what I mean?
You should want to be lessening. Like, the goal is for less children to be taken in. The goal is for less children to go missing. The goals are not being met. They are being, horribly taken advantage of. I mean, we were talking about data, and that's something that I will be talking on John's podcast about on Tuesday. Is another affiliate like Thorn to the National Center, which is, excuse me, I need to take a drink. Hang on. Which is the Children's Rescue Coalition. That was created by Hank Asher, who was my dad's best friend. He passed away a couple of years ago. But he was the creator of LexisNexis search engine, Matrix, and participated in the data for National Center all across this country. He worked in private securities, national security, and he was a data miner and creator of data. So he actually, before he passed, started a foundation called the Children's Rescue Coalition. I actually, months before, I suddenly in one day was a drug addict, mentally ill, and an abusive. I was actually an advocate. I was actually a figure on their fundraiser because I got their promo video done for free, and I brought my father in. And so I was doing those events, but when we're talking about this issue of solving these problems and bringing more kids in and things, and why aren't these being solved when we can, we have every bit of technology, we can hunt down when I get my first gray, things like that. It's already happened, guys, don't worry. So But when we have this going on, here we have what Hank Asher, let me cut to the chase, with the Children's Rescue Coalition, what they are is a live data. So it's a live online map of they brag about every person or IP address, obviously, creating, selling, or trading online child porn. So then they furthermore go to say, well, we need fundraising. We need the reason why this isn't effective because we need the money to be able to train the law enforcement on this software. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, but that seems very lame to me. That seems very made up. You've got plenty of money. This has been around for years. You could have trained the whole America by now, or hold a police law enforcement seminar 3 times and teach everybody or whatnot. But what we've got here is they have every IP, like we're talking about. They have, like Pam just said, they have every IP address in live time on a map, but it's not stopped yet. And now if we go theory to what's going on, that sounds like they've got a great network and identified of where you can get what porn from and who's supplying it and where to get it and all of it. I mean, we have to be thinking about loopholes or the ways that things can nefariously be, treated or approached. So I just want to bring that up.
No, I think it's necessary to bring up because people think all these, it's always projection. Like people, you hear like National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So you think, oh, wow, thank God we have an organization that, is looking out for the children, or, CPS, Child Protective Services, right? Like all these names, it's the same. The government does this with all kinds of other agencies too. Like, or like when they come out with some new bill that Congress just wrote and it's like the Americans, Safety Act or, whatever. I'm making stuff up, whatever. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but what I mean? It's always these things like we're united, we're strong. And it's never that. It's always the opposite. And it's the same thing when you see with all the children programs, all the stuff that you've seen and heard. It's just this disgusting cesspool of people that are trying to get at our children. And they're legalizing it. I mean, like that's the insanity of it all. It's like they literally sit there and they get to say, oh yeah, there's a law, it protects me. Well, yeah, but it's protecting you. It's not protecting the child. It's for the predator. It's so sick. I mean,
and the American people are not involved enough to know that things are being passed without the American people looking into it and questioning it and speaking up. That's the biggest problem. I hate to say, there's always going to be people that are going like, for people that think that there's not corruption of any point in any election in our time, for people to think there's no corruption in CPS or in government or, in their local, whatever, that's an extremely naive existence. That's not crazy. That's not overbearing. That's being aware. That's being real and grounded about the realities of what we live in and who people are. And, I've always brought up this public persona versus private life, and we all have it. So, let's stop acting like we don't, especially, people in positions of power.
Absolutely. Well, girls, what do you say we wrap it up? Everybody getting tired and hungry?
I think we did a great job.
It was lots of information.
It's late for me.
Yeah, great information tonight, ladies, as always. Appreciate you. Go ahead.
Yes.
No, I just wanted to thank everyone. I said, Pam, it's been absolutely amazing. Please, everyone go over and follow her on Twitter. Sylvia as well, Rescue the Fosters, Gino on Insight. You can find all of them on my page, so there's no excuse. KK is on talking all the time. She's, telling more of her story. She's getting more involved and offering more space for foster youth to come forward and to also be supported. So I just want to say that it's a complete honor for me and a blessing to be able to be affiliated with this group. I know that there's a lot of craziness. There's a lot of, groups that are forming for different reasons all over this country. And, you know, there's a lot of, you know, people maybe not with the best intentions and different things, but I want to thank you all for just being so solid in the work that you did before you met me, and that we've done ever since. I couldn't do it without people like you, and you know, that's what I got into this for. And I will not stop. I can't stop, won't stop. What is it? You can run, but you can't hide, as my dad used to always say.
Oh, man.
So, you know, I really want to be able to truly protect our children in this country, and not only for all of us, but for my brother Adam. And I think that that's the least we can do as the American public, and for the American public. It's changed a lot of how we view things and how we live, and how we raise our children. And I'm just, you know, always in prayer that we can really get back to those beautiful times in America, where families did, you know, go down the street together on their bikes, and you know, went to the farmers market and stuff. And we can do that. That's not a crazy ideology. That's not too far gone. We just need to fight for it, and we do that with grace. I always say, truth and grace for justice and peace. So that's, you know, I just want to thank everyone, you know, for being here, and all of our viewers that joined, and especially those that donated or prayed, or, you know, decided to start Googling right now. I hope everyone took notes. You can always rewatch this. You can always reach out, excuse me, to any of us. And we're here. We're actually here to, you know, this isn't about virtue signaling. This isn't about us whatsoever. This is about what's right. This is the fundamentals of what we're presented with and has been allowed in our country for far too long. And we are taking the courage and the time to educate the American public, and pray that your hearts will soften and your eyes will open to the reality, because it is a horrific one, but it's something that we cannot ignore. Like I said, indifference is one of the biggest sins in the eyes of God, if you care about that. And I think in society as well, especially at this point. So if you're looking for a cause, this isn't a bad one. No, sorry guys. But you know, I know there's a lot of, everyone's looking for a cause these days. Yeah. But anyways, no,
I keep watching this space, right, Megan? Keep watching Gino's space for updates. Yeah. We're going to be having more podcasts. This is going to be a rolling fundraiser until we meet our goals for our parents that need help. These parents that we're fighting with have got very hard, chaotic cases. So this is why we're fundraising for the first time. We've never asked for support before. We need your support now. It's so important, please. It's not just Miss Walsh, as she has so graciously said. We have parents across the nation that I know are watching this and hoping that this means that there will be help for them. Sylvie and I will start training advocates. So watch Gino's space again for that update. Thank you so much for those of you who offered prayers. Thank you so much for those of you who are digging in. Prove me wrong. I would love for once in my life to be proved wrong. Prove me wrong. Show me where CPS has actually, you know, done the job they say that they're going to do, not just for 1 or 2 children or 1% of the children, but for all the children that they take into their care. If we're going to trust our children to anyone, they had better be the absolute best in the entire world that we trust them to. And that is not this group. I love you all. Thank you so much for the support. Gino, Sylvia, KK, I love that poem. And of course, Miss Walsh, Megan Walsh, our Megalodon, you did awesome today. I am so proud of you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
Pam,
you.
go ahead.
I
know.
want everyone to remember.
Well, hang on, Megan, one second.
Remember.
Let's let Pam needs to go. She's got to take care of the family. Go ahead, Pam. We love you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Pam.
Love you all. And thank you for all the streamers. Fen, PHH, name them off. I know we said that we would call them out. Name them off.
I want to name them off, but I didn't get any in the chat. I asked, I would love to have a list that we could name off. Let me just put it this way. We appreciate you so much. We are so grateful and thankful that you participated in this. Oops, I'm getting feedback. Guys, we just thank you so much for allowing us your platforms. You didn't have to do this, but you did it out of the bigness of your heart, the bottom of your heart. We appreciate you guys. So thank you again. We can never thank you enough. If you can donate, please, PayPal, familyfarmandfaith@gmail.com, or Cash App, $ Rescue the Fosters. Either way, that money will be put to good use. Megan, finish what you were going to say, and then I'm going to go ahead and play the intro for the show we were doing, Red, White, and Boom. So go ahead, finish it up.
Yeah, which hopefully we'll be bringing that back. It's just been a little crazy, and we want to come on strong. So we will be bringing that back. But I just wanted to remind people, everyone seemed very adamant when the phrase came out, one child is one too many. And, I just want to remind people of that, because it actually applies here. And we should all be very cutthroat about that. We should be all very worked up about the fact that even if one child is put through this, that that it's one child too many, never mind countless children across our country. So I just want to thank everyone again. I'm going to get going too, but please, everyone, share this out, reshare, talk about it in your communities. Let people know what's going on if you really care, and we thank you. We really thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
KK, girls, any last words before we close it out?
I think they said it all. I think it has been said for this.
I think so too. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got a lot of good information. Guys, please like, share, subscribe, do all the things you hear every podcaster ever say. It is really important. We do have hashtags, hashtag Save Our Children, hashtag Take a Stand, hashtag Better Ways. Please share those on your favorite social media platforms far and wide. We need awareness to this subject. So,
and save Megan's children.
Yes.
Hashtag save Megan's children, please.
Yes.
All right. We love y'all. Everybody have a great night. God bless you. Thank you for joining us. And we will see you actually next Thursday, Rescue the Foster, 7:30. I am live this Sunday if you care.
The Blender at 8:05 p.m. Eastern Time.
Take care,
everybody.
God bless.
God bless.
Okay, this here is a commercial for another show, Red, White, and Boom. Megan's in this show. She's on this show a lot. I don't know if she's affiliated with it or not. But let's watch this clip real quick, and then I'll speak for a minute, and then we'll be done. And that she died because she exposed corruption. She was a senator. Her and her husband both. They got both of them. Okay, that's the end of that. You know what? In the end, I got to thinking, I sped that up to 1.25, and the voices did not sound funny at all. I wish that I thought and sped the whole damn thing up. Her brother Adam was supposedly killed. There is a man out there that says he's Adam. I have a picture of him. Megan does not claim that he's her brother. She doesn't know, okay? And it's not for her to find out. My understanding was her and this person sent a DNA test in, and LabCorp lost it. But he does favor her. Is it her brother? I don't know. Is Adam dead? I don't know. That's not Megan. Even though Megan cares what happened to her brother, what Megan has to do right now is save her own children. You see what I'm saying? But she did ask questions, and that's one thing that got her in trouble. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for joining me. I was supposed to stream this live last night, but I had some technical issues with my internet, etc. And I kind of glad we streamed it today, because that way people that were busy last night maybe didn't get the chance to see it. And a lot of people don't watch Rumble. I like Rumble. It's just not very user friendly. You can speak more freely on there. Anyway, I know this was long, and I appreciate all you guys. Rob, you were here from the very beginning. I appreciate all you guys that hung in with me. I know it was long, but it's important, and you're hearing it straight from the mouth of an ex-CPS worker, also from a CPS client, and you're hearing it from Megan, we all know what she's going through. June will be a year since they took her baby. Florida is very, very strict about the 1 year law. Not law, but policy. If you ain't got your kid back in a year, they pretty much like to call it quits. So thoughts and prayers for Megan and her family, and for all the other families that are going through this. Hopefully we'll be doing some more interviews. I know people don't find this as interesting as the caught watching stuff. A lot of people don't even want to believe this shit goes on. But unfortunately, sad but true, it does. My name is American Amy, and again, I thank you for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I said for enjoying me. Thank you for enjoying and joining me. Sounds like I'm saying the same thing twice. Anyway, I love you guys. Y'all have a wonderful day. It's starting to rain here again, as always. It's been like that for a month. At least a month. All right. Have a wonderful day. Pray for the children. Pray for the parents that are going through this. The whole families. All right. See y'all later. Thank you.